I collect attributes in the apocalypse. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 626 Only 2 choices. Level 5 Evolver Mid-Stage. John heard this, a hint of disdain flashed in his eyes, and he said, with such strength, they can only blame their bad luck for meeting us. Captain, should we deal with them first, or go find the person who got rid of the tricolor dog zombie first? The man asked again. In their eyes, Kane was the most powerful among the other people, and the rest didn't need to be taken care of. I guess they dealt with the tricolor dog zombie, John said. Did they deal with it? That's even better, the man nodded. Captain, you see there are few Chinese in their team, and those Chinese girls are pretty, another teammate said. Yes, those Chinese girls are really pretty, Captain, we should get them here and enjoy them. Such pretty Chinese girls are not always available. That's right, there is such an opportunity, we can't miss it in vain. Don't worry, the captain has already figured it out. The others also spoke up at this time. Experience is experience, but their lustful nature still exists, and they have not lost their lustful nature because of experience. John also looked at Murengzu and the others, and he really thought that Murengzu and the others were very good looking. Let's take them down first. John raised the corner of his mouth and said, come on, come with me. After the voice fell, John did not waste any more time, and led everyone to walk towards Lin Fan and the others, and soon came in front of Lin Fan and the others. Your name is Kane, right? John asked with his eyes locked on Kane. Lin Fan and the others had been ignored by John. After all, Lin Fan's aura had been restrained. Even if John was at the peak of the 5th level evolver, he could not sense Lin Fan's true strength when Lin Fan took the initiative to restrain his aura. Yes, facing John's question, Kane nodded. At this time, there was no point in him denying it. Now I'm asking you a question, you'd better answer it honestly. If I find out that you're lying, don't blame me for being rude, John asked in an overbearing manner. Did you hunt those 3 color dog zombies? Yes, Kane no longer needed to lie about this question. Because he felt that the other party asked so directly, maybe he saw them in secret, so he asked such a question as soon as they met. If he still lied, wouldn't it be deliberately angering John and giving John a chance to get angry? Very good, it seems that you are still very honest, John nodded, and then changed his tone and said, however, I have to tell you that the 3 color dog zombies are the prey we are looking at, and they are the existence we want to hunt and harvest. You said, you dealt with them and took away all the energy crystals on them. Where can we get the benefit? When John said this, Kane's face suddenly changed drastically. He knew that John would not let them go easily. Murengzu and the others couldn't help but change their expressions. They didn't expect this guy to be like this. He even said that the tricolor dog zombies were their prey. If you have your eyes on them, why don't you just deal with them? What are you doing there? Are you waiting for the new year? Lin Fan smiled coldly in his heart. It seemed that John and the others were indeed looking for trouble. However, it didn't matter. If they came to look for trouble, they came to look for trouble. For such people who took the initiative to deliver themselves to the door, Lin Fan never wanted to refuse. John, we have been dealing with that group of tricolor dog zombies for a long time, and the energy crystals we harvested have been absorbed by us. What do you want us to do now? Kane frowned and said. Have you absorbed the energy crystals you harvested? John raised his eyebrows and said, that's a pity. Now there are only 2 options before you. First, find other zombies to deal with and make up for the energy crystals you harvested from the tricolor dog zombies. Second, we will kill you now. There are only these 2 options. Don't think about bargaining with me. Since you have heard of me, you should know what kind of character I am. Those who bargain with me will only end up in a more miserable situation. John has made up his mind to get benefits from Lin Fan and Kane and others, so he naturally doesn't care about any different opinions and views from Lin Fan and Kane and others. Hearing this, Kane's face became even uglier. Murenshan was already very angry. If she hadn't seen that Lin Fan hadn't spoken yet, she would have stood up and started to confront him. At this time, Lin Fan smiled slightly, stood up and said, we won't bargain with you. You said that the group of tricolor dog zombies were the prey you first set your sights on. We don't deny this. Perhaps we accidentally touched your prey. Kane and others were stunned and looked at Lin Fan in confusion. Did Lin Fan just say that he was not afraid of the other party? Why did he suddenly change so much? Only Murinzu and others who were familiar with Lin Fan knew that Lin Fan's words must have another twist. It was impossible for him to really give in front of John. Thinking carefully, for so long, they seemed to have never really seen Lin Fan give in front of anyone. It was nothing more than a flowery confession of giving in to tease the other party. When it really came to action, Lin Fan never hesitated. That's right. To use a saying of you Chinese people, a man of insight becomes a hero. That group of tricolor dog zombies are indeed our prey. John glanced at Lin Fan and said, "What's your name?" "Me? My name is Lin Fan." Lin Fan smiled faintly and said, "According to what you said, everything that you have chosen in advance can belong to you. Then I have to tell you a piece of news with regret." "What?" "The news is that on this African savanna, except for the group of tricolor dog zombies that have been hunted by us, the rest of the zombies are all our prey. Now, please hand over all the energy crystals you have harvested from the zombies you have dealt with on this African savanna before." Lin Fan stretched out 2 fingers and changed them, and continued, "You only have 2 choices. First, hand over the energy crystals you have harvested. Second, I will kill you. You can only choose one of these 2 paths. There is no other choice." Puff. As soon as Lin Fan finished speaking, Murin Sham couldn't help laughing out loud. She knew that something interesting would happen as soon as Lin Fan opened his mouth, and it really didn't surprise her. Murin Zhu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Lu Mingyun also laughed. Lin Fan is indeed worthy of his name. Lu Mingyun laughed secretly in his heart. He speaks with a sharp tongue, which can make people angry to death. Chapter 627 Logic is established. Lu Mingyun has also experienced Lin Fan's venomous tongue during this period, which reminds him of a scene in the Three Kingdoms, where Zhuge Liang's words could make people angry to death. Sometimes he thinks that if someone like Lin Fan was born in ancient times, he would probably be able to make people angry to death with his words. Kane and others stared at Lin Fan with wide eyes. They never thought that Lin Fan would make such a turn. Didn't John give them 2 choices just now? How come in such a short time, Lin Fan gave John 2 choices? Kane and others are not used to Lin Fan's change. But what they know is that when Lin Fan said this, the conflict between them and John and others has intensified to the point where it cannot be adjusted. As expected, John's face has completely darkened. Although he is not a Chinese, sometimes he does not understand Chinese so quickly, but this does not mean that he does not understand the meaning of Lin Fan's words. "Are you kidding me?" John stared at Lin Fan angrily, his fists clenched tightly. "Fooling you?" Lin Fan shook his head and said seriously, "I'm not kidding you. I'm just being honest. Think about it. You can say that the group of tricolor dog zombies are the prey you first spotted, so why can't I say that the zombies on this African savanna other than the group of tricolor dog zombies are the prey we spotted? As long as your logic is valid, then my logic is valid as well. We can give you the energy crystals obtained from the tricolor dog zombies, but please also give us the energy crystals we obtained on this African savanna before. In this way, it will be a very fair deal for both you and us." Lin Fan said it so seriously that Murin Shan laughed even more happily, almost laughing to tears. "Boy! Are you looking for death?" A young man next to John stood up and said. They didn't speak Chinese very well, but they could also understand what Lin Fan said. It was obvious that he was teasing them. "Looking for death?" Lin Fan shook his head and said, "How am I looking for death? I am trying to reason with you seriously. We are all educated people, so we should all be reasonable, right?" This made the man speechless. Kane and others almost couldn't help laughing out loud. They didn't expect Lin Fan to use such a joke at this time. "Do you know what the consequences of offending me are?" John narrowed his eyes and locked them on Lin Fan. At this moment, the anger in his body was already burning. Lin Fan imitated John, narrowed his eyes slightly, stared at John, and said, "Then do you know what the consequences of offending me are?" Fuck! John was so angry that he cursed. He had lied for so many years, and this was the first time he met someone who dared to be so arrogant in front of him. Lin Fan ignored John's rage and said calmly, "I wanted to give you a chance to hand over the energy crystals, but now it seems that you won't cherish this opportunity. In that case, there's nothing to say. We can only take action to take you down." Kane, the blonde woman and their teammates were all stunned. What did Lin Fan mean by this? If they didn't misunderstand, was he going to take the initiative to attack John and the others? Joking aside, when it came to taking action, Kane still didn't have the confidence. After all, John was the second genius in the United States, very powerful, and not an ordinary person. If I don't kill you today, I swear I'm not a human being. John was so angry that his lungs were about to explode. He was inexplicably angry when he saw Lin Fan's face. Captain, let me deal with such a kid. The moment John finished speaking, a teammate stepped forward, clenched his fists and attacked Lin Fan. This teammate was also very angry with Lin Fan, and at this time, he should perform well in front of John and try to leave a better impression on John. Therefore, he chose to attack without hesitation. After all, in his eyes, Kane was the strongest person in the team, and Lin Fan could never be stronger than Kane. He guessed that Kane was only at the middle stage of the 5th level evolver, and he himself was also at the middle stage of the 5th level evolver. Since Lin Fan was not as strong as Kane, he was destined to be his opponent. Lin Fan had already known all the data of John and others clearly, and knew that the person who would attack him was only at the middle stage of the 5th level evolver, and there was no need to take such an opponent seriously. When the opponent's fist attacked, Lin Fan casually threw a punch and collided with the opponent's fist. Bang! The man's face immediately changed from disdain to astonishment after the collision. Before he could react, Lin Fan raised his foot and kicked him hard in the stomach, kicking him back. In the process of flying out, if John hadn't stopped his body in time, he would have flown at least 20 to 30 meters away. Level 5 Evolver late stage, the man fell back to the ground with John's help, holding his stomach with his hands, and made a painful sound. He actually has the strength of a level 5 Evolver late stage. In fact, at this time, even if this man didn't say it, John felt Lin Fan's aura from the moment Lin Fan made his move, and knew that Lin Fan had the strength of a level 5 Evolver late stage. This not only surprised John, but also shocked John's teammates. This kid actually has the strength of a level 5 Evolver late stage? It's incredible, no wonder he was so arrogant just now. It turns out he has the confidence. Level 5 Evolver late stage? So what? Dare to attack us? That's courting death? Yes, the boy who is courting death. Can he act recklessly with the strength of a level 5 Evolver late stage? The captain will teach him how to behave later. A group of people started to discuss. They were very surprised by the strength shown by Lin Fan, but they didn't think that Lin Fan could gain any advantage from them. After all, their captain, John, is a genuine peak level 5 evolver, one level higher than Lin Fan. I don't believe that Lin Fan can beat John. Hidden aura. John stared at Lin Fan, a ferocious smile appeared on his face, and said, "You will pay the price for your actions, and this price will be very, very serious, so serious that you can't imagine it." Really? Lin Fan smiled indifferently and said, "Then I want to see what price can be so serious that I can't imagine it. I hope you can open my eyes today." Looking for death, John's expression darkened, and without any delay, he cursed and rushed directly towards Lin Fan. Chapter 628 Deliberate Delay. Lin Fan has the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver. John knows very well that, except for him, no one else on their side is qualified to deal with someone at this level of strength. Therefore, to deal with Lin Fan, he must do it himself. Although Lin Fan has the confidence to deal with John, it does not mean that he will underestimate John. In any case, John is at the peak of the 5th level evolver. No matter how arrogant and rampant a person of this strength is, he still has the necessary skills. Facing John's attack, he stared at him intently, and when John rushed in front of him, he dodged and evaded John's attack. John did not expect Lin Fan's speed and reaction to be so fast. After the first attack failed, he continued to launch a second attack. In fact, Lin Fan's current strength is only one step away from the peak of the 5th level evolver. Because he had picked up the attributes with a ring before, and the data of strength and reaction had reached 23. As long as the speed and defense also reached 23, he would also become a person with the peak strength of the 5th level evolver. This means that he now has the strength and reaction of a peak level 5 evolver. Therefore, although John's attack speed was very fast, after falling into Lin Fan's eyes, Lin Fan was still able to react and successfully dodge it. When John launched the second attack, Lin Fan did not continue to dodge, but collided with John. Bang! The fists of the two people collided fiercely, and an extremely dull sound was heard in an instant. John's eyes became solemn. He did not expect that Lin Fan's strength was not inferior to his. The most important thing was that after his fist collided with Lin Fan's fist, it gave him a very hard feeling, a real feeling of hitting a punch on an iron plate. What is going on? John's heart was filled with doubts. He had fought with people so many times, but this was the first time he encountered such a situation. Lin Fan did not give John too much time to think. He shook his arm, and a force was released. Under the rebound of this force, John's body also took a step back. Of course, Lin Fan's body also took a half step back in this situation. This scene shocked everyone. Lin Fan is so strong. Kane's face was filled with shock. He knew that Lin Fan was very strong. If he used his superpowers, he would have no problem dealing with a peak level 5 evolver. But the problem was that at this time, Lin Fan did not use his superpowers at all. He was just competing with John in strength. In a head-on confrontation, John was not able to gain the upper hand at all. Instead, he retreated half a step further than Lin Fan. This shocked him. The blonde woman's pretty face was also filled with astonishment. She did not expect that Lin Fan could fight John to this extent. Kane's team members were also stunned. How is this possible? Where does this kid get such strong strength? Isn't he only at the late stage of the 5th level evolver? I have personally fought with him, and I am 100% sure that he is only at the late stage of the 5th level evolver, the person who had just clashed with Lin Fan hurriedly clarified. At this moment, his hands were still covering his stomach. Lin Fan's kick just now did cause him a lot of damage. Come again. Lin Fan looked at John and smiled faintly. Seeing the smile on Lin Fan's face, John felt that he was being laughed at to the depths of his soul. And the anger in his heart instantly burned fiercely. For so long, he had only been surpassed by one person, that is, the number 1 genius in the United States. He also thought that only the number 1 genius in the United States had surpassed him among the young people, and he would never allow other young people to surpass him. If he didn't take down Lin Fan today, where would his face be? So, at this time, his eyes looking at Lin Fan were already full of deep murderous intent. He wanted to take down Lin Fan, he wanted to kill Lin Fan, he had to do this to make him feel his face back, and he must not embarrass himself in front of his men. John snorted in his heart. Without wasting any time, he rushed towards Lin Fan again and launched a new round of attacks. Bang! 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 The two kept colliding, and the dull sound rang out continuously. However, the more they fought, the more depressed John became. Because when he hit Lin Fan didn't seem to feel any obvious pain, but when Lin Fan hit him, he would undoubtedly feel severe pain. This was obviously an unfair fight. Let's also take action and take down the rest of them, so that we can help the captain, someone among the team members suggested. Yes, let's take down those people first. Hearing this proposal, the others agreed and said they had no objection. After the consensus was reached, everyone no longer hesitated and attacked Murangzu, Kane and others together. Go! Murangzu, Kane and others saw the other side attacking, and they did not hesitate at all. After shouting loudly, they began to rush up and fight with the other side. The number of the other side's level 5 evolvers was the same as the number of their level 5 evolvers, and the person who first attacked Lin Fan was injured by Lin Fan. In this comparison, Murangzu and others actually had a slight advantage. As for the 4th level evolvers, the difference between the two sides was not big, and it was difficult to determine the winner in the 4th level evolvers for a while. Lin Fan did not pay much attention to the battle between Murangzu, Kane and others. He knew that after he held John back, Murangzu, Kane and others could deal with John's teammates. All he had to do was deal with John. Bang! 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 The battle between Lin Fan and John became more and more intense, and a dull sound accompanied their every sound, which sounded shocking. Facing John's attack, Lin Fan was always able to deal with it with ease, which made John's face become extremely ugly. Every time he attacked Lin Fan, he was either blocked by Lin Fan or dodged by Lin Fan. In short, his attack could not fall on Lin Fan, so he could not bring any harm to Lin Fan. Thinking of this, John gritted his teeth, no longer had any reservations, and attacked Lin Fan with all his strength. He wanted to take Lin Fan down in one go. Lin Fan could of course see John's intention. The more John wanted to end the battle quickly, the more he deliberately delayed, just to make John feel powerless. Of course, Lin Fan's behavior seemed to be avoiding, but in fact it was also a kind of maneuvering. During the maneuvering, as long as he found an opportunity, he could successfully defeat John. This was a good tactic. Chapter 629 Broken Spine. However, Lin Fan's tactics have made John very angry. He can't hit or hurt anyone. In this situation, anyone would probably feel furious. John thought that his mentality was very good, but facing this situation, his mentality was greatly affected. Although his attacks became more and more violent, it was obvious that he was already in a state of restlessness. In this state, it won't take long for him to reveal his flaws. As long as Lin Fan waited until he showed his flaws, Lei Ting would hide him and injure him, and then he could win the battle. As for why Lin Fan didn't use his superpowers to deal with John, he also had his reasons. Because when he dealt with John, he couldn't guarantee that the others would have a chance to escape. Even if he used his superpowers to deal with John, it would take some time to get rid of John. No matter what, John was at the peak of the 5th level evolver, and this kind of strength was not so easy to take down. Therefore, if he used his superpowers to deal with John, and other people immediately fled after sensing the danger, and Kane, Murenzhu and others had no way to stop him, it meant that after he escaped, he would spread the news that he had superpowers. At that time, people in the United States or other countries would have a clearer understanding of his superpowers and strength. This was not good news for the global genius competition that was about to begin. Thinking of this, Lin Fan decided not to use his superpowers to deal with John, but to rely on his own strength to take down John. Although he did not have the strength of a peak level 5 evolver, and was slightly inferior to John in terms of strength, you have to know that he had defensive attributes, while John did not have defensive attributes. If he continued to fight relying on the defensive attribute, as time went on, it would be John who would suffer, not him. Bang! 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 The battle between the two sides was very intense. Half an hour later, John not only had an ugly face, but also had a lot of injuries on his body. What the hell is wrong with this bastard? John was very depressed. His attack landed on Lin Fan, as if tickling Lin Fan. But Lin Fan's attack landed on him, without a doubt, it brought him a severe pain. This huge contrast not only tortured John physically, but also tortured John psychologically, making John even more impatient. Lin Fan smiled coldly in his heart. He just wanted to make John impatient, so that John would reveal more and more flaws. For example, at this time, John launched an attack on him. According to the previous operation, John would be prepared for defense while attacking. But John's attack this time was a pure offensive type, without any defensive preparation. Lin Fan avoided John's attack with extremely fast reaction, and then seized the opportunity, flashed to the side of John's body, clenched his fist suddenly, and punched John's waist fiercely. Bang! The fist hit John's waist, and an extremely dull sound was heard immediately. The power of Lin Fan's punch was not small at all, making John scream in pain, and his body retreated to the side. This scene made John's teammates' hearts jump. Although they had seen John being attacked by Lin Fan before, John had defended against those attacks, and a lot of the power was removed. "Captain," someone shouted, wanting to rush over to see what John was like. However, it was obvious that Kane, Murenzhu and others would not give them such an opportunity, and stop them, not giving them any chance to get close to John. After John stepped back a few steps, his body stabilized, and a painful expression appeared on his face. It must be said that Lin Fan's full-strength attack just now did cause him great pain. My ribs have been broken by him. If I continue to fight, I will inevitably become more and more passive, and I can't fight him anymore. John's mind quickly turned. He wanted to take down Lin Fan and kill Lin Fan with his own hands. But he also knew that it would be difficult to have a chance to turn the tables if his ribs were broken by Lin Fan. After all, he had not been able to successfully defeat Lin Fan in his heyday just now, not to mention the current physical injury. He was not a Chinese, but he knew that there was a saying in China that if you live, you will never have to worry about firewood. Only by living can you have the opportunity to take revenge. If you die, what is the point? He even thought of leaving here and going to meet the first genius of the United States, and then bring the first genius of the United States to find Lin Fan. John's ideal was very beautiful, but unfortunately, Lin Fan would not let him realize it. After repelling John, Lin Fan's eyes condensed, and he continued to rush towards John, starting a real counterattack. Lin Fan's counterattack also did not leave John any chance. John did not expect Lin Fan's counterattack to be so fierce. Bang! 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 Lin Fan's offensive came one after another, making it impossible for John to escape. Under such an offensive, more and more places on John's body were attacked, and his injuries naturally worsened. Bang! Soon, Lin Fan seized the best opportunity, quickly appeared behind John's body, clenched his fists, and smashed John's spine hard. Crack. At the same time as the dull sound rang, there was also the sound of broken bones. John's spine was broken by Lin Fan's punch. Another miserable cry came out of John's mouth, and John's body flew forward and fell heavily to the ground. At the moment of landing, John also spat out blood from his mouth, and his face looked as pale as paper. The most important thing is that after his spine was broken by Lin Fan, he had no way to use his lower body to do anything. He couldn't even stand up and could only continue to lie on the ground. Captain, John's team members saw John lying on the ground and couldn't stand up. They were anxious and wanted to rush over to help John deal with Lin Fan, but they had to face the obstruction of Kane, Murengzu and others, unless they could defeat Kane, Murengzu and others. This was also an extremely difficult thing for them. At first, they thought Kane, Murengzu and others were easy to deal with, but after they really fought, they found that their idea was wrong. Not only were Kane, Murengzu and the others difficult to deal with, they were evenly matched with them, and they had no way of gaining any upper hand or advantage. Chapter 630 lets you watch. Lin Fan didn't care if John's teammates came to help or not. He had taken down John, who was at the peak of the 5th level of evolution, not to mention those guys who were not as strong as John. If they came, they would just get beaten for nothing. Lin Fan walked in front of John, squatted down slightly, and looked at John, whose face was full of pain. "Do you regret it?" Lin Fan asked with a faint smile. John looked at Lin Fan with bloodshot eyes. He could still bear the injuries on his body before, but the damage caused by the broken spine made him unable to let go. After all, he could still stand up normally after the previous injuries, but the broken spine meant that he could not stand up. Now he could only look at Lin Fan in this position lying on the ground. This made him feel inferior. "Even if you don't say anything, I can see your regret from your expression and eyes." Lin Fan continued to smile and said, "Of course, there is also hatred included, but it's a pity that you are not my opponent at all. You'd better let me go, otherwise, we in the United States will never let you go." John gritted his teeth and said while enduring the severe pain. "At this time, you still dare to threaten me?" A disdainful smile appeared in Lin Fan's eyes, and he said, "Don't you understand your current situation? This is not a threat, this is a fact." John said stubbornly, "If you dare to kill me, you will definitely be sanctioned by the United States." In fact, he knew very well in his heart that in this situation, it would be meaningless for him to give in. If he gave in, it would only let Lin Fan know his fear, and then Lin Fan would be more unscrupulous. Since he couldn't give in, he could only use words to threaten Lin Fan stubbornly, hoping that Lin Fan would really feel fear under such threats. As long as Lin Fan really felt fear, he would have a chance to survive. "Sanctions?" Lin Fan smiled faintly and said, "Do you think I would worry about this? If they really have the strength to sanction me, then I will accept it. The key is that you have to consider whether they have the strength to sanction me. Sanctioning me is not something that can be done by just talking. Lin Fan really doesn't have to worry about this problem. Judging from Dong Xianzhuo's strength, it can be judged that in this world, the strongest person among the evolvers should be at the level of a level 6 evolver. Of course, even if there are level 7 evolvers, he is not far from a level 6 evolver. Once he becomes a level 6 evolver, he can sprint towards a level 7 evolver. He believes that his growth rate will not be faster than those strong people. In any case, he has a ring that can pick up attributes. With such a cheating weapon on him, if his growth rate is not as fast as others, it is his own problem, not the problem of others. What's more, John and others will die here. Who can leak the news of John and others' death? In other words, who can tell the Americans that they killed John and others? His teammates couldn't say that Kane's people were also involved in this matter, so they wouldn't do such a stupid thing. "You said that we in the United States can't sanction you." John seemed to have heard the funniest joke, and even the severe pain of the broken spine didn't stop him from laughing. "Yes, I said that you in the United States can't sanction me." Lin Fan nodded. "You are too arrogant," John said coldly. "I tell you, in our United States, a level 7 evolver will be born soon." John was telling the truth. The head of the United States now has the strength of the peak of the 6th level evolver, and is indeed only one step away from the initial level of the 7th level evolver. He said this in order to threaten Lin Fan, to shock Lin Fan, so that Lin Fan would not dare to kill him. However, what he didn't expect was that his words made Lin Fan feel like laughing. Originally, Lin Fan had guessed that a level 7 evolver had appeared in the United States, but it turned out that there was no such thing. Not even a level 7 evolver had appeared. He was now at the peak of the 5th level evolver, and the gap between him and the opponent was only 4 levels. Lin Fan firmly believed that he would soon catch up with a gap of 4 levels. By then, he would be the strongest in this world, and who would be able to do anything to him. Thinking of this, a smile appeared on Lin Fan's face. "What are you laughing at?" John saw the contempt in Lin Fan's eyes and asked with a frown. Lin Fan's performance was completely different from what he imagined. Hearing that a level 7 evolver was about to appear on their side, shouldn't Lin Fan feel afraid? Not only did he not see the slightest fear from Lin Fan, but he also felt a kind of unruly disdain. "I laugh at your ignorance," Lin Fan said with a smile. "Ignorance?" John was almost stunned. "Aren't they talking about the issue of strength now? What does this have to do with ignorance?" Lin Fan reached out and patted John's face, saying, "I regret to tell you that your threat to me is meaningless. The most important thing is that none of you here can leave alive. If you can't leave alive, do you think other people will know that you died in our hands? By then, if you don't show up, everyone will basically think that you died in the mouths of zombies. Will anyone be able to investigate it?" John felt unprecedented humiliation when Lin Fan slapped his face like this, but he had no way to resist and could only let Lin Fan slap his face. Hearing Lin Fan's words, John immediately felt that he was enveloped by a sense of death. You want to kill all of us?" John looked at Lin Fan in amazement. "Why? Is it not possible?" Lin Fan asked back. John was really panicked now. Lin Fan could see John's panic from his eyes, and said with a faint smile, "Don't be nervous, don't worry, we will act quickly and won't let them suffer too much. In order to prevent you from thinking that I'm lying, I'll let you watch here and see how I deal with your teammates." After saying this, Lin Fan stood up and didn't say anything more to John. He moved and rushed towards Kane, Murengzu and others. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Lin Fan's mind moved, and 6 hidden weapons flew out from his body, bringing 6 piercing sounds of breaking through the air. "This is a supernatural power, telekinesis." John couldn't help but tremble when he saw Lin Fan controlling 6 hidden weapons to fly out. He never thought that Lin Fan actually had such a powerful supernatural power. Chapter 631 The Final Experience. John was indeed shocked by Lin Fan's ability. He didn't expect that Lin Fan was not only so strong, but also had such an ability. He was hiding his weakness from the beginning. John realized that Lin Fan had not used his ability against him before, otherwise, he should have been defeated long ago. Why didn't he use his ability against me from the beginning? John began to wonder about this question. It was obvious that Lin Fan could defeat him quickly, but Lin Fan didn't do so, which made him very confused. After thinking for a while, he finally figured it out. Intentional. He did it on purpose. He didn't use his ability against me from the beginning because he knew that he couldn't take me down in a short time. In this way, if the rest of my teammates tried their best to escape, they might escape. At that time, the matter here would be leaked, and he would be targeted. Thinking of this, John couldn't help but feel a strong sense of fear. He felt that Lin Fan was really cunning and could take all these into consideration in advance. First, use your own strength to defeat him. In this process, his teammates will also consume a lot of energy and physical strength. Then, use your superpowers to hunt down his teammates. Who else can have the chance to escape? In this way, they will be wiped out here, and no one can leak what happened here. While John was thinking about it, Lin Fan had already started a killing spree, rushing into the crowd to control 6 hidden weapons to continuously harvest the lives of John's teammates. John's teammates were powerless under Lin Fan's attack. Not long after, they were all knocked to the ground by Lin Fan. John witnessed this scene with his own eyes, and his heart was filled with grief. Just as Lin Fan asked, he regretted why he came to trouble Lin Fan and others. You know, the group of tricolor dog zombies was not something they had set their eyes on in advance. Lin Fan and others killed the tricolor dog zombies and harvested energy crystals. It was also the ability of Lin Fan and others, and it had nothing to do with him. It was all because he was too greedy. There are so many zombie groups on this African savanna, why do they have to come to greed for the energy crystals of the tricolor dog zombies? Of course, in the final analysis, he was too confident in his own strength. In his opinion, among the young people, his strength was only worse than the first genius of their country, and none of the other young people could surpass him. This incident does tell us a truth. It is good to be confident, but you must not be overconfident. Kane, Murengzu and others looked at the corpses on the ground, and then looked at Lin Fan, who looked relaxed. They also had two feelings in their hearts. First, Lin Fan was really too strong. They worked so hard to tie with the opponent and failed to take him down. As a result, Lin Fan came and took him down in no time. Second, they were happy for Lin Fan from the bottom of their hearts. The stronger the strength Lin Fan showed, the safer they were. Especially Kane. He now completely understood why Lin Fan was able to act so calm before. It turned out that he was fully confident that he could deal with John. If he had known that Lin Fan was so strong, he would not have been so worried before. After Lin Fan dealt with John's teammates, he smiled and said, "Search them to see if they have any energy crystals." Kane and others began to move and search John's teammates. Soon, they found more than 20 level 4 energy crystals. Lin Fan walked towards John and said with a smile, "I didn't expect you to leave energy crystals for us. Although there are not many, it is also a good harvest. It is just right to make up for the consumption of dealing with you just now. I just don't know if you still have level 5 energy crystals." Lin Fan came to John and searched him as well. To his surprise, he also found 2 level 5 energy crystals on John. "Haha, what do you think? You still leave the level 5 energy crystals on you? Is it a special gift for me?" Lin Fan smiled faintly. Hearing this, John almost vomited blood in anger. He did leave these 2 level 5 energy crystals, but the purpose of leaving them was to allow him to use the level 5 energy crystals to quickly recover when he consumed too much energy in battle, rather than leaving them for Lin Fan to prepare. If he knew that this would happen, how could he have kept the 2 level 5 energy crystals for Lin Fan? John stared at Lin Fan closely, a smile appeared on his face, and said, "If you kill us, you will not have a good end. As long as you participate in the global genius competition, you will definitely be wiped out by our number 1 genius in the United States." "What? Just now you said that you Americans will directly sanction me, but now the United States can't directly sanction me? Are you going to use your number 1 genius to deal with me?" Lin Fan smiled indifferently. His goal is not as simple as participating in the global genius competition, but to win the championship in the global genius competition. Naturally, he will not be afraid of the number 1 genius in the United States. No matter which country's genius, as long as they appear in front of him, they will only be defeated. A fair light flashed in John's eyes, and he said, "Just wait. Just wait. You will not live long." Anyway, he was going to die, so he didn't care what he said. It was good to bring some psychological pressure to Lin Fan. "Okay, I've been waiting for that. Unfortunately, you didn't have the chance to see it with your own eyes. Now let me send you away from this beautiful world." Lin Fan raised his lips, and with a thought, the dagger flew out and stabbed John violently, ending John's life. Kane glanced at John's body and thought to himself, people like Lin Fan are the ones who can really do great things. He didn't think that Lin Fan was cruel in killing John and others. If they fell into the hands of John and others, their fate would be even worse. On the contrary, Lin Fan's decisive character was what he admired. "You can use those more than 20 level 4 energy crystals to recover." Lin Fan withdrew his gaze from John and looked at Murangzu and others, smiling and saying, "I also absorbed the 2 level 5 energy crystals I just obtained." These 2 level 5 energy crystals were purely his gains from dealing with John, so naturally they didn't need to be distributed to Kane and others. Soon, they absorbed the energy crystals. "Okay, let's continue to set off and start the last 20 days of training," Lin Fan said with a smile. After training here for about 20 days, they had to start preparing for the return trip. Otherwise, if they didn't hurry up, they wouldn't be able to get back within the stipulated time. If they couldn't get back to Joinshu Hongsun and Fenkang, they would miss the global talent competition. Chapter 632 Return. John's death was nothing more than a minor episode for Lin Fan and others, and it would not affect their mood to continue their training. After getting rid of John and others, they absorbed the energy crystals that should be absorbed and continued to train on this prairie. The United States naturally did not know that John and others had an accident. In their eyes, the strength of John and others' team was not something that young people from other countries could deal with. In the following time, Lin Fan and others hunted zombies every day and improved their strength every day. In a blink of an eye, 20 days passed. On this day, the weather was sunny and cloudless. Lin Fan and others came to a group of giraffe zombies. The number of giraffe zombies was much larger than those they had encountered before. According to a rough estimate, there were about 300,000. There are so many giraffe zombies, and there should be quite a few level 5 zombies mixed in. When dealing with them, we must be careful. If we encounter one that we can't deal with, we should avoid it first. Lin Fan glanced at the group of giraffe zombies and said in a slightly solemn tone, also, when we go in to deal with them, we should try to stand together and not be too far apart. There were too many giraffe zombies in front of him. Lin Fan couldn't check the whole situation at all, and didn't know how many level 5 zombies there were. Although in the past 20 days, Murengzhu, Murengshan, Li Zihan, and Lu Mingyian's strength has been improved to the level of the early stage of the level 5 evolvers, they still have to be careful when facing such a large group of zombies. Mu Hongling and Andy's strength has been improved to the level of the middle stage of the level 5 evolvers. As for Lin Fan himself, his strength is already at the peak of the level 5 evolvers. To be precise, Lin Fan's strength, speed, and defense data have all reached 24, but the reaction data is still 23. Judging from the data, he is now half a level 6 evolver. As long as the reaction data is raised to 24, he can become a genuine level 6 evolver. Kane's strength has also improved a bit, reaching the level of the late level 5 evolver. There are also several more level 5 evolvers in his team. In short, the overall strength of the two teams has been greatly improved compared to when they first met. Lin Fan, which direction do we break through from? Kane had no opinion on Lin Fan's arrangement, and he asked another question. Break through. Lin Fan narrowed his eyes, shook his head, and said, we can't break through, or we can't go deep into it. Why? Kane asked in confusion. Murengzhu and others were also a little confused about this question, so everyone's eyes were focused on Lin Fan, expecting Lin Fan to answer their doubts. Lin Fan said calmly, there are too many giraffe zombies. We probably can't deal with them all before we have consumed too much energy and physical strength. We have to rest in the middle to continue to deal with them. If we go deep into it directly, we will be surrounded by them. They will keep coming, and it will be very troublesome for us to retreat, so, when dealing with them, we can't go deep into it, just fight around them outside. In this way, if we feel that our physical strength is not very sufficient, we can rest and adjust at any time. Hearing Lin Fan say this, everyone understood. Yes, with a group of 300,000 zombies, even with our current strength, it is very difficult to deal with them all at once. We definitely need to rest and adjust. Kane nodded. Well, now you all follow me. Wherever I go, you follow me and surround me to deal with the zombies together, Lin Fan said in a deep voice. Okay, everyone nodded in response, without any objection. With this decision, Lin Fan and others did not waste any time. Led by Lin Fan, the crowd rushed into the zombie group, killing them indiscriminately and continuously killing them. In this process, they were all exhausted. After killing about 150,000 zombies, many of them felt a little tired. Lin Fan could see their fatigue at a glance and said, okay, let's withdraw from the outside first and deal with them after resting and adjusting. Soon, everyone withdrew from the zombie group and came to a relatively safe place. Because they retreated very quickly, the zombie group could not catch up with them. Everyone has harvested energy crystals just now. Now use the energy crystals to recover. After recovery, we will continue to kill all the zombies, Lin Fan said slowly as he swept his eyes over everyone. Yet, everyone nodded. They did harvest a lot of energy crystals just now. Encountering such a large group of zombies in the middle of the prairie, there are no shortage of evolved zombies, so their harvest is naturally rich. Everyone did not waste time, and each took out the energy crystals and began to absorb them. Using energy crystals to recover is naturally very fast. After absorbing the energy crystals, they recovered all the consumption just now and returned to their peak state. Everything is fine, right? Lin Fan asked, sweeping his eyes over everyone again. No problem, everyone answered. Okay, since there's no problem, let's go deal with the zombies again, Lin Fan said. They returned to the zombie group and fought again. With Lin Fan leading the team, they all seemed to be at ease and did not encounter any danger. It took a little less time than before, and the group of zombies was finally solved by them. Okay, continue to use energy crystals to recover, Lin Fan smiled slightly. He also felt that his strength was about to make a breakthrough, which meant that he would soon become a 6th level evolver. The fact was not beyond Lin Fan's expectations. After absorbing the energy crystals this time, his strength did break through as expected, and he officially entered the initial level of the 6th level evolver. Lin Fan's breakthrough can be said to be a natural result in a very stable promotion. Feeling the stronger aura of Lin Fan, everyone's eyes converged on Lin Fan, and each of them had some surprise in their eyes. Brother Lin Fan, have you become a level 6 evolver? Murin Shan was the first to ask. Yes, I have made a breakthrough, Lin Fan nodded. Awesome, too awesome, Kane couldn't help but praise. He couldn't find any better words to praise Lin Fan. There was no way, Lin Fan had brought them too many shocks during this period, making them feel that people like Lin Fan should continue to climb. The strength of the initial level 6 evolver does feel much stronger. Lin Fan clenched his fist slightly, and there was a very special feeling, as if he could easily deform a piece of iron with such a clenched fist. No wonder he felt an invisible pressure when he saw Dong Xian's hero at the beginning. It turned out that this was the power of a level 6 evolver. Such power can really make people feel fearful and pressured. It seems that the chief is right. Brother Lin Fan, your strength can really break through to the level of a 6th level evolver before the global genius competition begins. Moreover, there is still some time before the global genius competition begins, Murin Shan said with a smile. They all knew that Dong Xianzhou expected Lin Fan to reach the level of a 6th level evolver before the global genius competition begins. In the next month, we will basically rush back, and it will be difficult to improve our strength, Lin Fan said with a smile. However, I am also very satisfied to be able to reach the initial stage of a 6th level evolver. Lin Fan, your strength is likely to win the first place in the global genius competition, Kane said seriously. If it was at the beginning, he would naturally not believe that Lin Fan had such qualifications, but after getting along with him for this period of time, he felt more and more that Lin Fan was stronger than the first genius of the United States. After all, once Lin Fan's ability is unleashed, his own strength will be raised to a higher level. The key is that the ability to control objects through the air is really a bit evil. When controlling those hidden weapons, it is difficult for others to get close to Lin Fan's body. At least Kane can't think of a way to crack this. I hope we won't run into you then, the blonde woman said. With their strength as level 5 evolvers, if they run into Lin Fan, they simply won't be able to fight. Don't worry, with your good luck, you shouldn't run into me, Lin Fan helplessly spread his hands and said, but if you really run into me, you can only consider yourself unlucky. Kane and the blonde woman were speechless. However, they all knew that Lin Fan was joking. Are you going to start to return? Kane asked. Yes, aren't you going back? Lin Fan asked back. Yes, if we don't go back, we won't have enough time, Kane nodded. Okay, then we'll say goodbye here, and when we participate in the Global Genius competition, if there is still a chance, we'll get together again, Lin Fan said. Okay, it's a deal, Kane nodded again. He felt that being able to become friends with a genius like Lin Fan was definitely a matter of benefit and no harm, and naturally he would not miss this opportunity to deepen his impression. After the words fell, Kane and the blonde woman walked up to their team members and led them away. After Kane and others left, Lin Fan looked at Murinzu and others again and said, let's go, we will also move. On the way back, they will undoubtedly encounter zombies again. However, there are very few level 5 zombies in the zombie group they encounter. They are all level 5 evolvers now, and everyone needs level 5 energy crystals. With a small number of level 5 zombies, it is not realistic to want to improve their strength again. But what surprised Lin Fan was that Mu Hongling and Andy's strength still successfully broke through to the level of the late level of the level 5 evolver. Murinzu, Muring Shan, Li Zihan and Lu Mingyun also broke through to the level of the middle level of the level 5 evolver. In general, the strength of their team has increased dramatically compared to when they first came to the African savannah. Such an improvement makes them feel very good. At the same time, in another direction, a group of people were also running on the road. This group of people is naturally Li Keishu and Qin Changquang and others. Let's go to the woods ahead and find a place to rest first. We can continue on our way after we have rested well. Li Keishu looked ahead and saw a forest not far ahead, and could not help but speak slowly. They had also trained in the middle of the prairie before, but they were in a different direction from Lin Fan and the others, so they did not meet each other. Yes, Qin Changquang and the others also had no objection to Li Keishu's arrangement. Moreover, they had been traveling for so many days in a row, and they really needed to stop and rest. After entering the woods, they soon came to a thick tree and sat down to rest. Brother Keishu, what do you think Lin Fan's strength is now? Qin Changquang looked up at the sky, then retracted his gaze and asked Li Keishu. Chapter 633 About the Relics. Although Qin Shangquang had been training for a long time, he was still missing Lin Fan. Although he had let go of his hatred for Lin Fan, he was still curious about Lin Fan's strength. He wanted to know how much Lin Fan had improved during this period of time. Hearing Qin Shangquang's question, Li Keishu narrowed her eyes slightly. How could he not be curious about Lin Fan's strength? Li Keishu took a deep breath, looked at Qin Shangquang, and said, "Who do you think is stronger, our talent or Lin Fan's?" This question made Qin Shangquang's face look embarrassed. If it was at the beginning, Qin Shangquang would have no hesitation in thinking that Li Keishu's talent was stronger than Lin Fan's. But after experiencing the training in Luocheng, they all knew that Lin Fan's talent and growth potential were too evil, and no other student could compare to him. "Don't feel embarrassed, just say what you think," Li Keishu said straightforwardly. "Yes," Qin Shangquang nodded. Since Li Keishu said so, there was really no need for him to be shy. "Brother Keishu, to be honest, our talent and growth potential are definitely not as good as Lin Fan's. Lin Fan's talent and growth potential are really too evil." Qin Shangquang said the truth. Although he was reluctant to admit that others were better than him, compared with Lin Fan, it was hard for him not to admit it. This gap was indeed visible to the naked eye. Yes, his talent and growth potential are better than ours. We can compare with him. So, I have grown to the late stage of the 5th level evolver, so he must be stronger than me, Li Keishu said. "Brother Keishu, you mean that Lin Fan now has the strength of the peak of the 5th level evolver, right?" Qin Shangquang asked with a slightly focused look. "No," Li Keishu shook his head and said, "I think he is very likely to have become a level 6 evolver." "What?" Qin Shangquang was shocked when he heard Li Keishu say this. He looked at Li Keishu in amazement. He did not expect Li Keishu to have such a high estimate of Lin Fan's strength. "Level 6 evolver," Qin Shangquang said in astonishment. "Brother Keishu, isn't this a bit too exaggerated? It shouldn't be that easy for a level 6 evolver to be promoted, right?" Li Keishu looked at Qin Shangquang again and said in a deep voice, "It's not that easy for us, but don't forget that he is Lin Fan. Just like our previous experience in Luocheng, no one would have thought that he could become a level 5 evolver, but he did it. So, this time, we can't look at him with ordinary eyes. Anyone who looks at him with ordinary eyes will suffer a great loss at his hands." Gilu. Qin Shangquang swallowed hard and said in shock, "If Lin Fan really has the strength of a level 6 evolver, then wouldn't he have a chance to win first place in this global genius competition?" "What? Do you think he doesn't have the qualifications to compete for first place?" Li Keishu asked back. Qin Shangquang shook his head and said, "I don't know if he has it, but after hearing what you said, Brother Keishu, I believe he has it, a level 6 evolver." Qin Shangquang really couldn't imagine that Lin Fan could be promoted so quickly. However, Li Keishu said it so confidently, he was still willing to believe Li Keishu's judgment. Perhaps, Lin Fan really has the strength of a level 6 evolver. Li Keishu reached out and patted Qin Shangquang on the shoulder, smiling and said, "Lin Fan and we are now on the same line." "Oh, no. It should be said that we and Lin Fan are now on the same line. We both represent China. The stronger Lin Fan is, the better it will be for our China, especially if Lin Fan can win the first place in this global talent competition. Then China's reputation will rise greatly, and then it may attract many talents to join, so that China will become stronger and stronger, and safer." "Yes, that's right." Qin Shangquang nodded in sudden realization, and now he began to look forward to Lin Fan's strength really reaching the level of a 6th level evolver. After all, no matter from which angle you look at it, Lin Fan's strength reaching the level of a 6th level evolver is very good news. "Okay, don't think too much, we just need to do our best in this global talent competition, and strive for whatever ranking we can get." Li Keishu patted Qin Shangquang on the shoulder again. Although his strength could not reach the level of a 6th level evolver, he felt that he could still show his strength in the global talent competition. After all, he was also a young talent from China. His talent and growth potential were just suppressed by Lin Fan, but not worse than others. "Yes, Brother Keishu, I know," Qin Shangquang nodded vigorously. After resting, they did not waste any more time and continued to return. Chu Hongxun and Fen Kang were fortunate that they did not encounter any danger in this place during this period. Therefore, they did not change their place and waited here all the time. Chu Hongxun looked towards the deep African savanna and said, "There are only 3 days left before the deadline. They should all be on their way back, right?" "I think so." Fen Kang stood beside Chu Hongxun and nodded. I wonder how much their strength has improved after this experience. Chu Hongxun was a little curious about this question. Guess, Feng Kang said with a smile. Oh, Chu Hongxun's eyes showed a hint of doubt, and he looked at Feng Kang and said, just guessing and not gambling, let's gamble. Who's afraid of you? Feng Kang laughed. If the students who were punished for gambling before were here, they would definitely feel very aggrieved. The two instructors didn't let them gamble, but they started gambling themselves. How do you want to gamble? Chu Hongxun asked with interest. We won't gamble too much, just bet on the strength of Lin Fan and Li Keishu. The bet is 4 energy crystals, which is equivalent to each person betting 2, Feng Kang replied. Okay, Chu Hongxun nodded and said, do you want to guess first or do I guess first? You first, Feng Kang said, guess Li Keishu's strength first. Chu Hongxun nodded again and said, as for Li Keishu, I guess his strength should be in the late stage of the 5th level evolver. This is also the answer I want to say. Feng Kang spread his hands. If they are the same, then they are the same. If we guess right, we will not lose anything. If we guess wrong, we will not lose anything either. Chu Hongxun smiled faintly and said, just guess Lin Fan's strength. Let you go first, Lin Fan. Feng Kang whispered Lin Fan's name. After a moment, he continued, I guess Lin Fan's strength is at the peak of the 5th level evolver. You guess Lin Fan's strength is at the peak of the 5th level evolver. Chu Hongxun smiled and said, okay, in order to avoid the same answer. Then I guess Lin Fan's strength has reached the early stage of the 6th level evolver. Early stage of the 6th level evolver. Feng Kang's eyes showed a touch of surprise, and he said, are you so confident in Lin Fan? Yes, I am so confident in him. Chu Hongxun nodded firmly. He was so confident in Lin Fan's strength, on the one hand because of the talent and growth potential shown by Lin Fan, and on the other hand because Dong Xianzhuo also had great expectations for Lin Fan. He believed that Dong Xianzhuo's vision should not be wrong. Since we have reached an agreement on Li Keishu's strength, let's cancel Li Keishu's bet and switch to Lin Fan, Feng Kang said directly. Whoever guesses Lin Fan's strength will give the winner 4 level 5 energy crystals. How about it? No problem, Chu Hongxun nodded. Although they didn't go to faraway places for training during this period, they also dealt with zombies nearby and occasionally encountered level 5 zombies. Therefore, both of them have a collected level 5 energy crystals, but they haven't absorbed them yet. They are thinking of absorbing them after they return to the training base. Just as the conversation between the two of them fell, the sound of a helicopter came from the sky. Hearing the sound, they all looked up at the sky. Brother Dong is here. After seeing the helicopter clearly, Chu Hongxun and Feng Kang both realized that it was Dong Xianzhuo who came here. After all, the Global Genius competition requires Dong Xianzhuo to bring people to participate, not the two of them, and the two of them are not qualified enough. After a while, the helicopter landed from mid-air, and as expected, Dong Xianzhuo walked out of the helicopter. Brother Dong, Chu Hongxun and Feng Kang hurriedly walked over to Dong Xianzhuo and greeted him. Yes, Dong Xianzhuo nodded and said with a smile, is everything okay during this period? Not bad, Chu Hongxun replied, it's just that the students who went out for training haven't come back yet. It's not the time yet, it's normal for them not to come back. Isn't there still 3 days? Dong Xianzhuo smiled slightly. He came here to wait for the students to return, so that he could select the 5 people who really participated in the Global Genius competition. After the candidates were determined, he took them directly from here to the competition place. Yes, there are still 3 days before the time agreed with him, Chu Hongxun nodded. Don't worry, I believe they will be fine, Dong Xianzhuo said. Brother Dong, where's the location of this Global Genius competition? Feng Kang asked curiously. It should be in the United States, right? Chu Hongxun said. No, Dong Xianzhuo shook his head and said, at first I thought the location would be chosen on the territory of the United States, but after so many countries held meetings and discussions, we unanimously decided to choose an island in the Pacific Ocean. An island in the Pacific Ocean? Chu Hongxun and Feng Kang were both shocked to hear this answer. Yes, that island, that place, does not belong to any country, which is equivalent to a place without a home, Dong Xianzhuo nodded. This is really unexpected, Chu Hongxun said. Yes, it's quite surprising, Feng Kang nodded. The main thing is that we found a relic in the Pacific Ocean, and there is a high possibility that there will be something good in that relic, Dong Xianzhuo pondered and said. After discussion, one more thing was decided, relics. Chu Hongsun and Fen Kang were even more surprised. This was the first time they heard about this. No one can tell for sure when the ruins were left behind, but after the Doomsday outbreak, special energy began to emanate from the ruins. We discovered through research that this special energy is very similar to the energy contained in the energy crystals in the zombies' heads. Dong Xianzhuo frowned slightly and said in a serious tone, "So, we are all speculating whether the Doomsday outbreak caused some unknown things to emerge. As for the final decision, that is, after the global genius competition is over, the top 5 students will have the opportunity to enter the ruins to explore. Whatever they can get in the ruins will be their own gains, and they don't need to hand it in. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 634 really reached. Hearing what Dong Xianzhuo said, Chu Hongsun and Fen Kang couldn't help but show a more intense shock on their faces. They had never thought that the ruins would actually release the same energy as the energy crystals. "Brother Dong, there must be a lot of energy crystals stored in that ruins, right?" Chu Hongsun made a bold guess. "Not sure, we don't know about this now, because we haven't been in there either." Dong Xianzhuo shook his head and said, "If we go in, there will be conflicts between countries, and this conflict can even be said to be a war between 2 countries. So, after our unanimous consultation, we decided that the top 5 of this global genius competition will go in to explore. If the top 5 go in to explore, that means there are only 5 people, and these 5 people may not be from different countries." "Do the other countries agree?" Fen Kang asked. "How can a country that can't even compete for the top 5 in the global genius competition have the qualifications to express its opinions on such matters?" Dong Xianzhuo showed a half smile on his face and said, "If you fall behind, you will be beaten. This truth has never changed since ancient times. A country without strength can only play the role of spectators in such matters. They can't decide the direction of things at all. After all, if they express dissatisfaction, they will be suppressed by countries stronger than them, and it is entirely possible that they will be destroyed at that time." "That's right." Chu Hongsun and Fen Kang looked at each other and nodded in sudden enlightenment. "Brother Dong, is there any danger in the ruins?" Fen Kang suddenly thought of this question and asked. "That's not very clear. Whether there is danger or not, people who go in have to bear these risks." Dong Xianzhuo shook his head and said, "Even if there is no external danger, if they find good treasures during their exploration, and they fight to grab them, isn't that a potential danger?" "Yes, then it will depend on their ability to fight for it," Chu Hongsun said in a deep voice. "Yes, that's what I mean," Dong Xianzhuo nodded. "In short, let's wait for Lin Fan and the others to come back. After they come back, we will select the candidates first." Dong Xianzhuo glanced at Chu Hongsun and Fen Kang and said, "After the candidates are determined, I will tell them about the ruins." "Yes, Brother Dong." Hearing this, Chu Hongsun and Fen Kang looked at each other and nodded in response. Time passed quickly, and in a blink of an eye, 3 days had passed. During these 3 days, Dong Xianzhuo and others had been waiting here. "Someone is coming over there, it seems to be Li Keishu and the others." Fen Kang looked around and noticed a group of figures appearing in the distance, but because the distance was too far, he could not see clearly and could only judge their general appearance. Hearing this, Dong Xianzhuo also looked in that direction. Fen Kang was only at the middle stage of the 5th level evolver, while Dong Xianzhuo was at the late stage of the 6th level evolver. In terms of vision, he naturally could not compare with Dong Xianzhuo. Yes, Dong Xianzhuo's strength has been improved to the late stage of the 6th level evolver during this period of time, and he is sprinting towards the peak of the 6th level evolver. After Dong Xianzhuo looked over, he recognized that it was Li Keishu and the others at a glance, and nodded and said, "It's Li Keishu and the others who are back." When Dong Xianzhuo and the other 2 looked at Li Keishu and the others also looked over here. They couldn't see the figure standing here clearly, but they could see that the helicopter was still on the hill. "Brother Keishu, the helicopter is still there. It seems that the instructors have not moved," Qin Changquang said with a smile. "Not changing the location means that they don't have to look for it elsewhere, which saves them a lot of time." Li Keishu nodded and said, "This also shows that during this period of time, the instructors did not encounter any other dangers, otherwise, they would not have stayed where they were." Yes, Qin Shangquang grinned. When they were closer, they naturally discovered the existence of Dong Xianzhuo. The chief is here, Qin Shangquang said. Well, the global genius competition must be led by the chief himself. It is normal for the chief to come here in advance to wait for us, Li Keishu nodded. Immediately, they sped up and quickly ran towards the position where Dong Xianzhuo, Chu Hongxun and Fen Kang were standing. Chief, Instructor Feng, Instructor Chu. After arriving in front of Dong Xianzhuo and the other two, Li Keishu and the others greeted them one after another. Well, not bad, just as I thought, you all returned safely. Dong Xianzhuo's eyes fell on Li Keishu and the others, and he nodded with satisfaction. With Dong Xianzhuo's strength, even if Li Keishu didn't release much aura, he could sense that Li Keishu's strength had reached the level of the 5th level evolver. The 5th level evolver is late, the 5th level evolver is mid. You two are growing very fast. Dong Xianzhuo's eyes fell on Li Keishu and Qin Shangquang, and he smiled and praised them. Hearing Dong Xianzhuo's praise, Li Keishu and Qin Shangquang were very happy. No matter what, Dong Xianzhuo is the strongest in China. Being praised by the strongest is no less than getting a good gift. Thank you, Chief. Li Keishu and Qin Shangquang looked at each other and answered in unison. The 5th level evolver is late. Chu Hongxun and Fen Kang also looked at each other. Li Keishu's strength was not beyond their expectations. They guessed it. You must be a little tired after rushing back all the way. Go over there and take a rest first, Dong Xianzhuo pondered and said. Lin Fan and the others haven't come back yet. We have to wait until they come back before deciding on the 5 candidates for the global talent competition. Yes, Li Keishu, Qin Shangquang and others answered in unison, and then followed Dong Xianzhuo's instructions and sat down to rest. Time passed slowly, and after about an hour, a group of figures appeared in their sight again. Lin Fan and the others are back. Dong Xianzhuo found Lin Fan and the others at the first time. With his eyesight, he still recognized the appearance of Lin Fan and the others at once. Hearing this news, Chu Hongxun felt relieved. Although he had always been full of confidence in Lin Fan and the others, he was still worried until he saw Lin Fan and the others come back with his own eyes. But now that Lin Fan and the others have finally come back, he naturally doesn't have to worry anymore. After waiting for a certain distance, Lin Fan also noticed Dong Xianzhuo and others, and said with a smile, the chief is here too, haha. I didn't expect that we are so prominent that the chief would come and wait for us in advance. Muranshan chuckled, looking very happy. Speak softly, the chief is a level 6 evolver, and his hearing is very good. If he hears it, it won't leave a good impression, Lin Fan said jokingly. Ah, I forgot about this, brother Lin Fan, then could the chief have heard the sound of my words just now? Muranshan was frightened by Lin Fan and asked with some regret. It shouldn't be, after all, we are still quite far away from there now, Lin Fan comforted, but he didn't expect that a casual remark would really make Muranshan feel shocked. Hearing this, Muranshan gently patted her chest with her little hand and said, Fortunately, he didn't hear it. If he heard it, it would be too embarrassing, haha. Muranshan's words and actions made everyone laugh. But then, Lin Fan felt that Dong Xianzhuo's aura was stronger than before. He frowned slightly and read Dong Xianzhuo's data information with a ring. Species, human level 6 strength, 26 speed, 26 reaction, 26 ability, none. Seeing Dong Xianzhuo's data information, Lin Fan said in his heart, no wonder I feel that his aura has become stronger. It turns out that his strength has reached the level of the late stage of the 6th level evolver. John said that the strongest person in the United States is at the peak of the 6th level evolver. I don't know if he has been promoted to the level of the 7th level evolver. If he has not been promoted to the 7th level evolver, then the difference is not too big, only a level difference. After all, it was a month ago that he got the news from John. Lin Fan naturally didn't know whether the strongest person in the United States had made a breakthrough in strength in this month. Anyway, if there was no breakthrough, then the gap between Dong Xianzhuo and the other party was indeed not big. Brother Keishu, they are back. Qin Shangquang's eyes brightened a lot after Lin Fan and others approached. Well, we will know Lin Fan's strength soon, Li Keishu said with some expectation. He knew that Lin Fan was good at hiding his aura, and he could not feel Lin Fan's strength before Lin Fan revealed it actively. But after returning from this experience, they still had to determine the candidates, and Lin Fan's true strength must be revealed. In this way, they will know Lin Fan's true strength. Commander, Instructor Chu, Instructor Feng, Lin Fan brought Muringzu and others to Dong Xianzhuo and the other two and greeted them politely. Dong Xianzhuo and the other two nodded, and then Dong Xianzhuo's eyes were fixed on Lin Fan, and he also asked with some expectation, Lin Fan, I can't feel your strength. Have you become a level 6 evolver? Dong Xianzhuo was telling the truth. He found that he couldn't tell at a glance what level Lin Fan's strength was. Logically speaking, someone like him who was at the late stage of the level 6 evolver could tell at a glance if the opponent was below the level 6 evolver. But after Lin Fan appeared in front of him, he still couldn't tell Lin Fan's strength at a glance, which made him think of the only possibility. Hearing Dong Xianzhuo's question, Chu Hongxun and Fen Kang's hearts were in their throats. They both wanted to know Lin Fan's strength, not to mention that there was a bet between them. Li Keishu, Qin Changquang and others also focused their eyes on Lin Fan, expecting Lin Fan's answer. Lin Fan's eyes condensed slightly, and he smiled and nodded, saying, breakthrough to the initial level of the 6th level evolver. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere around them changed. Dong Xianzhuo smiled happily and said, haha, good, you really didn't disappoint me. Before your training began, I guessed that after your training, your strength would likely break through to the level of the 6th level evolver before the global genius competition began. You did it. Chu Hongxun had an irrepressible smile on his face. Although Lin Fan's strength improvement had nothing to do with him, Lin Fan was his student after all. How could he not be happy that his students could grow to this point? The most important thing is that Lin Fan's strength has reached the initial level of the 6th level evolver, which also means that he won the bet with Fen Kang, and he can also get 4 5th level energy crystals from Fen Kang. It makes no sense for him not to be happy about such a good thing that fell from the sky. Lost, Fen Kang said in his heart. He originally thought that Lin Fan could not break through to the 6th level evolver level, but now it seems that he did not have enough confidence in Lin Fan, otherwise, he would not have lost the bet to Chu Hongxun. 6th level evolver, he really reached it. Qin Changquang couldn't help but widen his eyes. Chapter 635, Fighting for a Spot. Although Qin Changquang had planted the seed in his heart that Lin Fan would reach the level of a 6th level evolver after hearing Li Keishu's words before, he was still shocked to hear Lin Fan say it in person. At Lin Fan's age, he had reached the level of a 6th level evolver. Such talent and growth potential really made him feel helpless. Li Keishu was not surprised by Lin Fan's answer. After all, he had believed from the beginning that Lin Fan would create a miracle. Facts have proved that his belief was not wrong. Lin Fan had indeed reached the level of a 6th level evolver. Although it was only the early stage of a 6th level evolver, it was enough to show that Lin Fan's talent and growth potential were very terrifying. At least, he would never be able to surpass Lin Fan in this life. He was now fortunate that they were all from China, otherwise, if they met an opponent like Lin Fan in the global genius competition, they would have no choice but to surrender. Brother Keishu, you guessed too accurately. Qin Changquang retracted his gaze and looked at Li Keishu. Li Keishu smiled slightly and said, it's reasonable. While Li Keishu and Qin Changquang were talking, Dong Xianzhuo kept looking at Lin Fan, as if he was like a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law, and the more she looked, the more satisfied she felt. According to my understanding, the strength of the first genius of the United States should be about the early stage of the 6th level evolver, at most the middle stage of the 6th level evolver. If you use your superpowers, it should be no problem to deal with people in the middle stage of the 6th level evolver, Dong Xianzhuo said. Middle stage of the 6th level evolver, Lin Fan nodded and said, then I can definitely deal with it if I use my superpowers. Well, as for the second genius of the United States, Dong Xianzhuo wanted to add something. Chief, I think the second genius of the United States you mentioned will never appear again. Lin Fan interrupted Dong Xianzhuo's words. What do you mean? Dong Xianzhuo didn't react for a while. He was killed by me, Lin Fan said with a smile. Dong Xianzhuo was slightly stunned. Chu Hongxun and Fen Kang were also stunned. They didn't expect that Lin Fan would kill the second-ranked genius of the United States. What happened? Dong Xianzhuo asked curiously. Lin Fan didn't waste time and quickly told Dong Xianzhuo what happened. After listening, Dong Xianzhuo said, it turned out that they wanted to die. It's their bad luck to meet you. If they met someone else, it would be someone else who suffered. Yes, Chief, that guy is so arrogant, he deserves to be killed. Murong Shan said. Well, it's a good kill. In this way, there will be one less competitor in the global genius competition. Dong Xianzhuo smiled slightly. Not only did he not blame Lin Fan and others for killing John and others, but he was also very happy. After all, if John was alive, it would mean that there would be one more powerful competitor in the global genius competition. Now that John is dead, there is no need to worry about this issue. As for the threatening words John said, Dong Xianzhuo was not worried at all. No one leaked the death of John and others, and the people in the United States could not find out more about Lin Fan and others. What's more, even if they found out, what would happen? It was John and the others who were seeking death on purpose. No wonder Lin Fan and the others wanted to kill them. If the United States dared to attack Lin Fan and the others, China would not be easy to bully. You must be a little tired after your journey, right? Take a rest first. After you have rested, we will determine the candidates for the global talent competition. Dong Xianzhuo glanced at Lin Fan and the others and said with a smile. These words were almost said to Murongzhu and the others. Because everyone knew that with the strength of Lin Fan, a level 6 evolver, he must have occupied a quota, and no one could shake Lin Fan's quota. Chief, we don't need to rest, because we just rested 3 hours ago. We didn't encounter any troubles in the middle, so there was no consumption, and we are in a better state, Lin Fan responded with a smile. They did rest 3 hours ago. Lin Fan had already predicted that Dong Xianzhuo would be waiting for them here and would select the 5 people who would finally participate in the global talent competition. So, at that time, he had already asked Murongzhu and the others to adjust their state. Oh? Have you adjusted your status? Dong Xianzhuo didn't expect that Lin Fan and others had adjusted their status. He fixed his eyes and said, since you have adjusted your status, you don't need to rest for the time being. As he spoke, he turned his head and looked at Li Keishu and Qin Changkong, and said, have you rested well? Well, Li Keishu, Qin Changkong and others answered in unison. Come over when you have rested well, Dong Xianzhuo said. Yes, Li Keishu, Qin Changkong and others responded, and immediately got up and walked over here without wasting time. Li Keishu looked at Lin Fan, with a smile on her face, and said sincerely, Lin Fan, congratulations on your breakthrough to the 6th level of Evolver. Thank you. Lin Fan smiled slightly, which was considered a response. After the two of them finished talking, Dong Xianzhuo said, this time, we have a total of 5 places in China for the global talent competition. I have mentioned this to you before. After this period of training, you can decide the 5 people who will participate in the global talent competition based on your strength. Given that Lin Fan's strength has reached the early stage of the 6th level Evolver, if he directly occupies one place, do you have any objections? If you have any objections, you can raise them. As long as you defeat Lin Fan, you can get this place. After Dong Xianzhuo's voice fell, everyone answered in unison, no objection. Hearing such a neat answer, Lin Fan couldn't help but feel like laughing, but fortunately he held it back. There was no way. Mainly because everyone knew that the gap between them and Lin Fan was too big. Even if they challenged Lin Fan, it would definitely be a humiliation. If Lin Fan got the place, they would not have to fight against Lin Fan, which was a better result for them. Okay, since everyone has no objection, the first spot will go to Lin Fan, and there are 4 spots left. Dong Xianzhuo glanced at everyone and said, for the global genius competition, the lowest standard is to be a level 5 evolver. For students who have not reached the strength of a level 5 evolver, I can only say sorry to you. In the global genius competition, if you don't even have the strength of a level 5 evolver, it will still be a humiliation to participate. Therefore, there is a specific hard standard that you must have the strength of a level 5 evolver to participate in the global genius competition. In addition to Lin Fan, there are 9 people who have not reached the strength of a level 5 evolver. These 9 people are undoubtedly eliminated. Murongzhu, Murong Shan, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling, Lu Mingyan, all 5 of them have the strength of a level 5 evolver. Li Keishu, Qin Changkong and 3 others also have the strength of a level 5 evolver. Now, each of you report your level. Dong Xianzhuo glanced at Murongzhu and the other 10 people, and emphasized, I just want to know your level now, and I will not consider any factors that can lead to a leapfrog battle. Dong Xianzhuo knew very well that some people's strength could not be judged by their superficial level. For example, people like Lin Fan who have supernatural powers cannot be judged by their real strength level. But people like Lin Fan are always a minority, and he must first know the strength of Murenzhu and the others. Li Keishu took the lead and said, Level 5 Evolver late stage. Qin Changquan followed and said, Level 5 Evolver middle stage. The three boys beside them said, Level 5 Evolver early stage. After that, their eyes turned to Murenzhu and the other four people. Mu Hongling said calmly, Late stage of Level 5 Evolver. Murenzhu said, Middle stage of Level 5 Evolver. Murenshan said, Middle stage of Level 5 Evolver. Li Zihan said, Middle stage of Level 5 Evolver. Lu Mingyan said last, Middle stage of Level 5 Evolver. If Andy can participate in the battle, then there will be another middle stage of Level 5 Evolver. Unfortunately, Andy is an animal and cannot participate in such a global talent competition. Dong Xianzhuo nodded, his eyes fell on the three people with the strength of the initial stage of Level 5 Evolver, and asked, You three judge for yourself whether you have the strength to challenge the higher level. The three people looked at each other, shook their heads and said, No, since you don't have it, do you have any objection to eliminating you? Dong Xianzhuo asked again. No objection, the three answered in unison. With the three of them being eliminated, only Murenzhu, Murengshan, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling, Lu Mingyan, Li Keishu and Qin Changquan were left in the field. Among the 7 people, 3 more people need to be eliminated, leaving 4. This is indeed a difficult decision. Mu Hongling and Li Keishu both have the strength of the late stage of Level 5 Evolvers. They each get a quota. Do you 5 have any objections? Dong Xianzhuo looked at Murenzhu, Murengshan, Li Zihan, Lu Mingyan and Qin Changquan and asked, If you have any objections, just raise them. It doesn't matter. As long as you challenge and win them, the quota will fall on your heads. No objection. Murenzhu, Murengshan, Li Zihan, Lu Mingyan, and Qin Changquan shook their heads at the same time. They are not Lin Fan, and do not have the strength to challenge higher-level opponents. They know very well that they cannot be the opponents of Mu Hongling and Li Keishu. Instead of wasting time and energy on the challenge, it is better to save some physical strength to deal with the next battle for the quota. Okay, then Mu Hongling and Li Keishu get the quota. Dong Xianzhuo continued, 3 places have been confirmed, and the remaining 2 places need to be selected from the 5 of you. All 5 of you have the strength of the middle stage of the 5th level Evolver. It is difficult to judge who is stronger without a real fight. However, before the 5 of you start the competition, I want to ask you first, are there any of you who want to withdraw voluntarily? Voluntarily withdrawing does not mean that you don't have the courage, but this is a competition of global talents. If you are not strong enough, you will not be able to compete for anything. We will respect your decision. At the same level, some people are promoted to reach the 1st level, some are promoted to reach the 2nd level later, some have rich practical experience, and some lack practical experience. These will have a certain reflection in strength. Dong Xianzhuo will let Murenzhu and the other 4 take the initiative to decide on their advance and retreat, which is also a very reasonable arrangement. Lu Mingyan thought about it, then stood up and said, Commander, I have decided to withdraw. Lu Mingyan didn't know who was stronger between him and Qin Changquan, but he had known Murenzhu, Murengshan, and Li Zihan for quite some time, and he knew very well how strong Murenzhu, Murengshan, and Li Zihan were. He knew that even if he fought with Murenzhu and the other 2, he would not be their opponent. Since he could not compete with Murenzhu and the other 2, and there were only 2 spots left, it was obviously unnecessary for him to participate. It would be a wise decision to withdraw voluntarily. Dong Xianzhuo looked at Lu Mingyan, nodded, and asked again, Is there anyone else who wants to withdraw voluntarily? This time, no one answered the question. Since no one has withdrawn, the 4 of you will compete for the last 2 spots, Dong Xianzhuo announced. Chapter 636, Victory and Defeat. After Dong Xianzhuo's voice fell, he immediately divided an area from Murenzhu and the other 3 in the field, and then divided this area into 2 small areas. He looked at Murenzhu and the other 3 and said, You only need to fight against each other once, and do your best to show your strength. I will make a rough judgment based on the strength you show. In other words, you only need to compete with each other once, and the winning parties do not need to compete again. This rule saves a lot of time. After all, this is not to rank the strength of Murenzhu and the other 4, but just to select those who can participate in the global genius competition. With Dong Xianzhuo's eyesight, Murenzhu and the other 4 went all out to show their strength, so he could naturally judge the strength of their strength. Yes, Murenzhu, Murengshan, Li Zihan and Lu Mingyan all nodded. Then, Murin Shan looked at Dong Xianzhuo and asked, "Chief, do we draw lots to decide our opponents?" Dong Xianzhuo said, "You can draw lots, or you can choose your opponents from each other. Anyway, you have to fight each other 2 by 2, so it doesn't affect anything, because, when you fight, if 2 of the 4 people with stronger strength become opponents, then in the end it is those 2 people who will go to participate in the global genius competition, not the winner of the other party. In short, I decide based on your overall performance, not your victory or defeat." Hearing what Dong Xianzhuo said, Murin Shan immediately said, "Chief, let's decide our opponents ourselves, so as to save time by drawing lots." "Okay," Dong Xianzhuo nodded. Drawing lots would indeed waste more time. "Qin Shangkong, I want to choose you as my opponent." Murin Shan immediately set his eyes on Qin Shangkong. Qin Shangkong looked at Murin Shan speechlessly. He didn't expect Murin Shan to target him so quickly. In fact, he was right. Murin Shan was targeting him. Murin Shan had been unhappy with him since the beginning, but she had never had the chance to fight him. This time, there was such a good opportunity in front of her, and Murin Shan naturally didn't want to miss it. Murin Zhu and Li Zihan were both stunned. Now they also reacted. It turned out that Murin Shan asked so many questions before just for this. "Xiao Shan, let me deal with Qin Shangkong," Murin Zhu asked in a low voice. "Sister, let me deal with Qin Shangkong. Anyway, the decision of the quota is not based on the victory or defeat, but on our performance. This doesn't affect anything," Murin Shan said with a smile. Murin Zhu was a little embarrassed. She was not worried about the issue of victory or defeat, but she was worried that Murin Shan would suffer at the hands of Qin Shangkong if she went to deal with Qin Shangkong. "It's okay, since Xiao Shan wants to fight with Qin Shangkong so much, let Xiao Shan and Qin Shangkong have a competition," Lin Fan interrupted. On this path of evolution, Lin Fan summed it up. It was similar to the path of cultivation in the novel. If some things are not completed personally, they will always form a knot in the heart. If this knot is not untied, it may affect the future path of cultivation and improvement. Murin Shan wanted to fight Qin Shangkong so much. If it could not be realized, Lin Fan was also worried that this matter would form a knot in Murin Shan's heart. In this case, it would be better to let Murin Shan resolve this knot. Moreover, Murin Shan's strength has also improved very quickly, and her practical experience has been increasing during this period of time. It is not necessarily that Murin Shan cannot beat Qin Shangkong. "Okay," Lin Fan said so. Murin Zhu did not insist on anything. She believed in Lin Fan's judgment. She knew that Lin Fan had confidence in Murin Shan. "Then fight according to what you have decided." Dong Xianzhuo glanced at Murin Zhu and the other 4, and said with a smile, "Enter the battle area." Hearing this, Murin Zhu and the other 4 did not waste time and walked into the battle area. "Are you all ready?" Dong Xianzhuo asked. "Ready," Murin Zhu and the other 4 answered in unison. "Since you are all ready, then I declare that the competition begins," Dong Xianzhuo said. "Sister Zhu, I'm here." As Dong Xianzhuo finished speaking, Li Zihan said, and then rushed towards Murin Zhu. Although the 2 of them had some small exchanges in private, this was the first time they had a formal fight like today. Murin Zhu knew that Li Zihan's strength was not simple, so she focused all her attention on Li Zihan and also rushed up to fight with Li Zihan fiercely. After Murin Zhu and Li Zihan started fighting, Murin Shan stared at Qin Shangkong and said, "Qin Shangkong, make a move. Let me see how strong you are." "Okay." Qin Shangkong's eyes condensed, and then without any delay, he stepped on the ground and rushed towards Murin Shan at an extremely fast speed. The performance in this battle will determine who will participate in the global genius competition. When he made a move, Qin Shangkong did not hold back at all, clenched his fists, and attacked with all his strength. Although Murin Shan didn't like Qin Shangkong, she would not underestimate him in the battle. Facing Qin Shangkong's attack, Murin Shan also focused on it, launched a counterattack with all her strength, and also fought fiercely with Qin Shangkong. Bang! 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 In the battle area, dull sounds continued to spread. At this time, not only Lin Fan and others were watching here, but also those students who drove helicopters came to watch, and the atmosphere became lively. The battle between level 5 evolvers is really exciting. Yes, I don't know when we can reach the strength of level 5 evolvers. This kind of thing can't be rushed. We can only improve steadily. Yes, I believe that as long as we work hard, Sooner or later we can become level 5 evolvers. The strength of those students has not yet reached the level of level 5 evolvers. Seeing the battle between Murinzu and the other 4, their eyes are full of envy, and they look forward to the day when they themselves become level 5 evolvers. The strength of Murinzu and Li Zihun seems to be not much different. I don't know who will win between the two of them. Lu Mingying stood beside Lin Fan, looked at the battle in the field, and frowned and said, "Their strengths are indeed not much different. Who will win in the end probably depends on who will make a mistake. Once a mistake is made, or a flaw is revealed, the other party will seize the opportunity to gain the upper hand," Lin Fan said with a smile. He knew the strengths of Murinzu and Li Zihun best, and he knew that there had never been a significant difference in the strengths of Murinzu and Li Zihun. In this kind of battle, it is indeed only when one side makes a mistake or reveals a flaw that the other side can seize the opportunity to gain the upper hand. When the advantage of the upper hand comes out, the situation can be clearly presented to people. Lu Mingying nodded, and then looked at the battle circle of Murin Shan and Qin Shangkuang. "Lin Fan, who do you think is stronger, Murin Shan or Qin Shangkuang?" Lu Mingying asked. "It's not clear now," Lin Fan said in a deep voice. "It should be clear after a while. Now Murin Shan and Qin Shangkuang have just started fighting. Even if both of them have used their full strength, there is really no obvious difference at present. It will be clear after a long time." After all, the battle between Murin Shan and Qin Shangkuang was different from that between Murinzu and Li Zihun. There was really not much difference in strength between Murinzu and Li Zihun. However, Murin Shan and Qin Shangkuang could not be equal in strength, and one of them must be stronger. "Brother Kishu, do you think Brother Shangkuang can get a place?" While Lu Mingying was curious about this competition, there were also students on Li Kishu's side who were very curious about it and looked at Li Kishu to ask. Li Kishu narrowed her eyes, shook her head and said, "It's hard to judge. Murin Shan is not an easy person to deal with. It's not easy to defeat Murin Shan. It depends on how well Qin Shangkuang performs. If he performs well, there is still a chance. If he performs poorly, there is no chance." "Is that so?" The man nodded, not quite understanding. His eyesight was not as good as Li Kishu's, and he could not see the gap in the battle at all. Of course, in his heart, Qin Shangkuang was their teammate, and he hoped that Qin Shangkuang could win and get a place to participate in the global talent competition. Bang! Bang! Qin Shangkuang and Murin Shan kept fighting, and the dull sound rang out continuously. Murin Shan had a faint smile on her face and said, "I want to see how long you can hold on." Murin Shan wanted to compete with Qin Shangkuang in physical strength. She felt that her physical strength would be better than Qin Shangkuang's. In this way, when Qin Shangkuang was exhausted, he would definitely not be her opponent. Qin Shangkuang's eyes condensed, and he did not respond to Murin Shan's words, but became more fierce in attack. The battles in the two areas were very exciting and made everyone very satisfied. In a blink of an eye, an hour had passed. After an hour of fighting, the situation finally took a turn for the better. On the side of Murinzu and Li Zihun made a small mistake. After attacking, he did not have time to defend quickly. So, Murinzu seized this opportunity, and her figure was like a ghost, and she instantly came behind Li Zihun, then stretched out her hand and grabbed Li Zihun's neck, making an eagle claw-like attack gesture. Of course, she didn't really grab Li Zihun's neck, but just gestured in front of Li Zihun's neck. Feeling the palm in front of her neck, Li Zihun knew that she had lost this battle. Because, in this case, Murinzu could definitely grab her neck and cause her fatal damage as long as she really grabbed hard. "I lost," Li Zihun said. "Okay, your competition is over." Hearing Li Zihun's voice, Dong Xianzhuo glanced at them and immediately announced. Murinzu and Li Zihun walked out of the battle area and returned to Lin Fan's side. Lin Fan glanced at the two of them and said, "Take a good rest." An hour of fierce fighting had already consumed a lot of physical strength from Murinzu and Li Zihun. Both of them had beads of sweat on their foreheads. They really needed to rest and adjust their state. Yet, Murinzu and Li Zihun nodded, smiled at each other, and stood quietly by the side watching the battle between Murin Shan and Qin Shangkuang. At this time, the battle between Murin Shan and Qin Shangkuang also entered a white-hot stage, and both sides attacked fiercely. However, Qin Shangkuang finally revealed a flaw. Just as Murin Shan thought, even though Qin Shangkuang was a man, he could not compare with the younger her in terms of physical strength. The battle between the two sides consumed to this point, Qin Shangkuang was about to enter the stage of fatigue, so he needed to adjust his breathing well to maintain his condition. Murong Shan seized the moment when Qin Changquang adjusted his breathing and saw the opportunity. She flashed and appeared on the side of Qin Changquang's body. She raised her foot and kicked Qin Changquang on the side of his waist. Under the power of this kick, Qin Changquang's body flew out to the side uncontrollably. Although Qin Changquang tried very hard to stop his body, the power of Murong Shan's kick should not be underestimated, and his body eventually flew out of the battle area. Seeing this scene, Dong Xianzhou announced, "This competition is over, the battle area is used to limit the scope of the battle. Whoever leaves the scope of the battle is the loser." Chapter 637, Say Hello. Qin Changquang left the battle area. It was clear that the loser was Qin Changquang. Hearing Dong Xianzhou's voice, Murong Shan's little face suddenly showed a deep smile. After all, with Dong Xianzhou and others here, she couldn't beat Qin Changquang severely. In short, she was already very happy to be able to defeat Qin Changquang. Qin Changquang sighed with regret and walked back to Li Qiushu. "You have tried your best. Don't be discouraged. Work hard in the future," Li Qiushu comforted. Yet, Qin Changquang nodded seriously. In the previous battle, he did use all his strength, but he still couldn't beat Murong Shan. This was a result that he couldn't change. Although it was a pity to fail this time, the result had already appeared, and he could only recognize it. Murong Shan walked back to Lin Fan and others, and Lin Fan praised, "Little girl, your performance just now was very good, thank you, brother Lin Fan, for the compliment," Murong Shan replied happily. Soon, Dong Xianzhou looked at Murong Shan, Li Zihan and Qin Changquang in turn. "I have seen the performance of the four of you in the battle, and you all performed very well," Dong Xianzhou pondered and said. "However, 2 of you 4 must be eliminated, and only 2 can remain to represent our country of China to participate in the global talent competition. So, being eliminated does not mean that you are not good, but it is just because of the quota limit. Now I announce that the places are Murongzu and Li Zihan." Dong Xianzhou directly said the quota. Lin Fan was not surprised by this quota. When he saw the battle performance of Murongzu and the other 4, he basically confirmed that the quota belonged to Murongzu and Li Zihan. Although Li Zihan was the loser, in terms of overall strength, Li Zihan was indeed a little stronger than Murong Shan. Murong Shan's stronger ability was to be a sharpshooter, but this must be demonstrated with the cooperation of a gun, so in this case, Murong Shan was still not Li Zihan's opponent. Sister Zihan, congratulations on your qualification to participate in the Global Genius Competition," Murong Shan said with a smile. Her purpose was not to participate in the Global Genius Competition, but to defeat Qin Changquang. As long as she defeated Qin Changquang, it would not matter whether she participated in the Global Genius Competition or not. Murongzu and Li Zihan also knew what Murong Shan's purpose was, and they all had satisfied smiles on their faces. "Follow me, the 5 of you. I have something to tell you." Dong Xianzhou glanced at Lin Fan, Mu Hongling, Murongzu, Li Zihan and Li Chu Shui, and said slowly. After the voice fell, he walked to the side. Seeing this, Lin Fan and the other 5 looked at each other, and without delay, they followed Dong Xianzhou. After they walked away, Chu Hongxun came to Feng Kang and said with a smile, "Old Feng, I'm sorry, I won 4 level 5 energy crystals from you." Feng Kang was a man who was willing to accept defeat. It was not that he could not afford to lose 4 level 5 energy crystals. Lin Fan's strength has reached the level of a 6th level evolver. He lost the bet this time with a clear conscience. Without any delay, Feng Kang took out 4 5th level energy crystals from his arms and handed them to Chu Hongxun. Chu Hongxun took a look and smiled as he put away the 4 5th level energy crystals. "Your camp was able to win a great victory. And it really relied on Lin Fan. If it weren't for Lin Fan, your camp might not be able to beat my camp," Feng Kang said helplessly. The great victory of the camp he mentioned was naturally not referring to anything else, but to the fact that 4 of the 5 places this time were actually people from Chu Hongxun's camp, and only Li Qiushu from his camp got a place. In terms of the number of places, it was really a complete loss. However, he knew very well that Chu Hongxun's camp was able to achieve such a crushing victory, nothing more than because Chu Hongxun's camp had Lin Fan. With someone like Lin Fan, Murongzu and others must have taken advantage of it when they went out to train. Otherwise, Murongzu and others' strength would not have improved so quickly. Haha, I can't deny this question. After all, they are all people who follow Lin Fan. I think Lin Fan has brought them a lot of benefits, Chu Hongxun said with a smile. He also knew very well that all this was the result of Lin Fan. Without Lin Fan, his camp was indeed no match for Fen Kang's camp. Murin Shan waved to Andy and said, "Andy, come to me." Hearing Murin Shan's voice, Andy did not delay and ran towards Murin Shan, and soon came to Murin Shan's side. Murin Shan squatted down and reached out to touch Andy's head. While touching, she said, "Now they are going to participate in the Global Genius competition. We can't follow them. You can only stay with me." Murin Shan liked Andy very much, and wished that Andy would stay with her every night, but unfortunately Andy would not stay with her when Lin Fan was there. Now that Lin Fan was going to participate in the Global Genius competition, Andy naturally had no better choice. Lin Fan and others followed Dong Xianzhuo to another direction. Dong Xianzhuo turned around, looked at Lin Fan and others standing in front of him, and said, "You will represent our China to participate in this Global Genius competition. Is this competition important?" "I can tell you very clearly that it is very important. Although it is a competition between young people, it can already let everyone see clearly which country's young people are stronger. The truth that a strong youth means a strong country will never change from beginning to end. The stronger you perform, the stronger our China will be in the eyes of outsiders. At that time, it may be possible to attract some talents from other countries to join our China. This is a very good virtuous circle. However, I tell you this, not to put too much pressure on you, but to let you know that you must take this Global Genius competition very seriously and do your best to get a good ranking. As for the results of the ranking, we don't consider this issue. What we have to consider is to have a clear conscience. As long as you try your best, it's fine." He said this, but in fact, Dong Xianzhuo said this to Murin Zhu, Mu Hongling, Li Zihan and Li Chiu Shui. Naturally, he still placed his hopes of winning a place on Lin Fan. Lin Fan was already a level 6 evolver. In the global talent competition, as long as he performed well, he would definitely win glory for the country. However, as Murin Zhu and the other 4 had not yet reached the level of level 6 evolvers, he knew very well that the top 5 positions in the global talent competition would definitely not have much to do with Murin Zhu and the other 4. All hopes could only be placed on Lin Fan. Yes. Hearing what Dong Xianzhuo said, Lin Fan and the other 5 nodded in response. In addition, I have to tell you one thing. After you participate in the global talent competition, the top 5 people will have to explore a ruin, Dong Xianzhuo said. Ruins? Everyone was slightly stunned. Yes, it is the ruins, Dong Xianzhuo continued. We just discovered that ruins not long ago. There is a strong energy similar to that in the energy crystal leaking out. It can be imagined that there must be a lot of good things in it. After our negotiation, we decided to allow only the top 5 in the Global Genius competition to explore. As for how much you can get in the ruins, it belongs to you and you don't have to hand it in. When saying this, Dong Xianzhuo looked at Lin Fan for a few more times, which clearly meant that he was telling Lin Fan to seize such an opportunity. Alice. I have no chance, Li Keishu sighed in his heart. He knew very well that his strength could not get the top 5 in the Global Genius competition. After all, he has not even reached the peak strength of the 5th level evolver. Among the geniuses of other countries, in addition to the 6th level evolvers, there must be people at the peak of the 5th level evolvers. Although there is only a difference of 1 level, he does not have the ability to control objects remotely like Lin Fan. Therefore, he just wants to perform well in the Global Genius competition. As for the issue of competing for the ranking, it is better to leave it to people like Lin Fan to consider. Chief, where's the ruins? Lin Fan asked. The Pacific Ocean. Dong Xianzhuo looked at Lin Fan and replied, anyway, we will take the top 5 directly there after the Global Genius competition. There should be dangers in there, right? Lin Fan asked. I don't know the details. None of us have been in. Dong Xianzhuo shook his head. Then, he changed the subject and said, of course, this kind of thing is not mandatory. Even the top 5 winners can choose to quit and not go in to explore, because it is really hard to judge whether there are dangers in it. This is also a fact. They have never been in, so naturally they don't know what the ruins are like. Lin Fan took a deep breath and had made up his mind. After getting the top 5 in the Global Genius competition, he would go in to explore anyway. Dangers are accompanied by opportunities. If there are dangers inside, the opportunities may be greater. What's more, Dong Xianzhuo also said that there is energy in the energy crystals emitting from the ruins. If they can absorb this energy, wouldn't it make their strength improve by leaps and bounds? If such an opportunity is in front of them and they miss it, it would be a pity. By the way, Commander, where's the location of our competition? Li Zihan asked. It's also on an island in the Pacific Ocean. I will take you there directly soon, Dong Xianzhuo said. Okay, Li Zihan nodded. It's almost time. We should also rush there. Dong Xianzhuo looked at his helicopter and said, just take my helicopter directly. There's enough space. I will wait for you on the plane first. You can say hello to them and get on the plane. Yes, Lin Fan and the other 5 responded. After Dong Xianzhuo walked towards the helicopter, they did not delay any longer and walked back to Chu Hongxun, Murangshan and others. Soon, they came to Murangshan, Andy and Lumingyan. Shaoshan. We are going to participate in the competition soon. You have to follow Instructor Chu and others back to the training base, Lin Fan said. Brother Lin Fan, I know that I can't go to the scene to cheer you up. I can only wish you a good ranking in advance, Murangshan said with a smile. Okay, I will. Lin Fan smiled and nodded, then looked at Andy, squatted down and touched Andy's head, and said, Andy, when I'm not around, you have to stay with Shaoshan and stay with Shaoshan at night, understand? Hearing this, Andy nodded his dog head, indicating that he completely understood. Well, I understand, Lin Fan smiled and said, you continue to chat for a while, I'll go say hello to Instructor Chu. After that, Lin Fan walked towards Chu Hongxun and came in front of Chu Hongxun. Instructor Chu, thank you for the training during this period, Lin Fan sincerely thanked Chu Hongxun. Haha, I really don't have much credit. It's all because of your own talent and strong growth potential, Chu Hongxun laughed and said, I feel like I don't know what to say. I didn't expect that you have grown better than me in the blink of an eye. Chapter 638, The First Genius Jack. When saying this, Chu Hongxun really had a mixed feeling in his heart. Thinking about it carefully, he could understand Chu Hongxun's feelings. After all, he was an instructor at the training base, and it would be no problem for him to be surpassed by students in the future. But the problem was that Lin Fan had surpassed him in just a few months, and by so much, which was a bit hard to accept. Of course, in his heart, he was still happy for Lin Fan. Once an instructor, always an instructor, Lin Fan stretched out a hand to Chu Hongxun and said, in my eyes, you will always be my instructor. Hearing Lin Fan's words, Chu Hongxun was immediately moved. He took a deep breath, stretched out his hand and shook Lin Fan's, saying, you will always be my best student. Then, Chu Hongxun changed the subject and said thoughtfully, perform well, I believe you will shine in the global talent competition. Thank you, instructor. Lin Fan nodded and said, I will do my best. Okay, come on. Chu Hongxun patted Lin Fan's arm. After the two chatted for a few more sentences, Lin Fan also said goodbye. Instructor, then we will go first. Wait for our good news? Yes, there will definitely be good news. Chu Hongxun nodded heavily. After that, Lin Fan did not waste any more time, turned around and walked back to Murangzu and others. Let's go, Lin Fan said. Okay, Murangzu and others nodded. They had said what they should say, and there was nothing to say now. Anyway, they would go back to reunite after participating in the Global Genius competition, and it would not take a few days. You all have to cheer up. Murangshan clenched her fist and made a gesture of cheering. Must, Lin Fan replied with a smile. Watching Lin Fan and others get on the plane, Murangshan's eyes couldn't help but turn red. No matter what, this is the first time they have been separated since the outbreak of the Doomsday, and she is still a little reluctant. Even if they are separated for only a few days, this kind of reluctance will still burst out. Of course, Murangshan didn't know that after the Global Genius competition, Lin Fan would go to explore the ruins. If she knew, she would be even more reluctant. Let's go. After Lin Fan and others were on the plane, Dong Xianzhuo also looked at the pilot and ordered. Yes, the pilot answered, without any delay. He controlled the helicopter to take off and flew towards the Pacific Ocean. Chu Hongxun and others stood on the ground, watching Dong Xianzhuo's helicopter disappear from sight, and then they retracted their gaze. Okay, they are gone, and we should go back to the training base to wait for their good news, Chu Hongxun said with a smile. Everyone boarded the plane, and Chu Hongxun, Feng Kangde and others began to return to the training base. At this moment, not only did China take action, but the rest of the countries also began to take action. The leaders of the countries that are qualified to participate in the global competition are all taking people to the unnamed island in the Pacific today. This unnamed island is a deserted island in itself, and there are no buildings on it. It is equivalent to that this time. The global genius competition is held in a place that no one has ever been to, so there is no problem of home and away games. When Dong Xianzhuo's helicopter landed from mid-air, Lin Fan had already seen a lot of helicopters parked on the island. It was obvious that people from other countries had arrived. "Chief, how many countries are participating in the global talent competition this time?" Lin Fan looked at the helicopters and asked curiously to Dong Xianzhuo. Hearing this, Dong Xianzhuo thought for a moment and said, 60, only 60. Lin Fan was stunned. There are a total of 197 countries in the world, 195 sovereign countries, and 36 regions. Unexpectedly, only 60 countries were finally qualified to participate. Yes, there are only 60, because some small countries disappeared after the outbreak of the Doomsday, and others joined some surrounding countries and merged together, Dong Xianzhuo said. Lin Fan did not expect this. 60 countries, even our Huaxia country only has 5 places to participate. Don't some countries only have 1 place to participate? Lin Fan asked again. Huaxia is a superpower. Even Huaxia has only 5 quotas. Lin Fan speculated that others would have even fewer quotas. Yes, that's right, Dong Xianzhuo nodded and said, the competition will officially start tomorrow. Today is a rest time. You can wander around the island, but remember not to have any conflicts with others. I have a meeting to attend with them. I'll go and get busy first. Yes, Lin Fan and others answered in unison. After that, Dong Xianzhuo did not stay any longer. He jumped off the helicopter and walked towards the depths of the island. Let's go down and take a look, Lin Fan said. Yes, Murengzhu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishuo had no objections to this. After jumping off the helicopter, Lin Fan and others walked towards the seaside area. There are no animals on this island, and there are no zombies, which means that this island is very safe. Not only Lin Fan and the other 5 people will wander around this island, but many of the other people who came to take the written test are also wandering around. After all, there were no buildings on the island. If they wanted to rest, they had to go back to the helicopter to rest. It was boring to stay in the helicopter all the time. It was better to go out for a walk. This allowed Lin Fan and his 5 companions to see people from many countries. Although they did not greet each other, it was still an eye-opener. Of course, there were also 2 or 3 very enthusiastic guys who came to make friends. Since the other party spoke English, Lin Fan's English was not very good, so the communication problem was handed over to Murengzhu, Li Zihan and Mu Hongling. These 3 were typical academic masters at the beginning, with very good academic performance, and there was no problem in communication in English. At the same time, on the American side, a man in his 60s looked a little gloomy. In front of him, there was a young man in his 20s. Chief, John and the others probably have an accident, the young man said in a deep voice. The man nodded and said, I know they must have had an accident, otherwise they would definitely not have come back to join us. Don't think about it now. I have to go to a meeting with people from other countries. You should adjust your status and don't affect tomorrow's competition. I hope that the United States can get at least 2 of the 5 places to enter the ruins this time, so you must do your best to fight for it. Do you understand? I understand, the young man also nodded solemnly. That's good, the man's eyes focused and said, okay. I'm going to the meeting first, you can make your own arrangements. Yes, the young man replied. The man didn't waste any more time and turned to go to the meeting. And this young man is Jack, the first genius of the United States. Jack has a good relationship with John. After knowing that John was in trouble, he was not in a good mood, but he didn't know whether John was killed by a person or a zombie. If he was killed by a person, then he wanted to find out who killed John and avenge John. If he was killed by a zombie, then there was nothing he could do. He couldn't kill all the zombies on the African savannah, right? This is obviously not a realistic thing. According to their inference, humans and zombies should exist on the Earth for a long time at the same time. After all, humans evolve and improve quickly, but zombies evolve and improve quickly as well. It will take a long time for humans to exterminate zombies. I'm going to go out for a walk, Jack said to the others, and also wandered around the island. Lin Fan and others came to the beach, and not long after, they heard people discussing next to them. Look, that's Jack, the #1 genius in the United States. This guy looks so cold. Who makes others have the capital to be cold? He should also be the champion of this global genius competition, I guess so. Among the young people, there should be no one stronger than him. I don't know what level his current strength has reached. Anyway, it must be the level of a 6th level evolver. As for whether it is an early or middle level 6th level evolver, it is not clear. We will know after the competition starts tomorrow. People around discussed one after another. Jack obviously ignored the voices of these discussions. As others said, he was very cold and he didn't care about ordinary people. He stood alone on the beach, looking at the sea. No one knew what he was thinking. However, after hearing these words, Lin Fan looked at Jack and immediately read Jack's data with a ring. Species, human level, level 6 strength, 26 speed, 25 reaction, 26 power. None. Jack's data information appeared clearly in front of Lin Fan. After seeing Jack's data clearly, Lin Fan's eyes also condensed slightly. It must be said that this Jack is really not simple. The data of strength and reaction have reached 26. If the speed data also reaches 26, it means that he has become a strong man in the late stage of the 6th level evolver. At this age, with such strength, it is really quite powerful, worthy of being the first genius of the United States. He is very strong, Lin Fan said. Hearing Lin Fan say this, Murungzu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishu all looked a little dignified. They knew very well that if Lin Fan could give such an evaluation, it was enough to show that the opponent's strength was indeed strong to a certain extent, otherwise Lin Fan would never give such an evaluation. Are you sure? Murungzu looked at Jack, then looked at Lin Fan and asked. I am sure. Lin Fan changed his tone and said, but the specific results will be known after fighting with him. In short, this person is difficult to deal with. Since Jack can become the first genius of the United States, it means that Jack's strength cannot be viewed with a normal perspective. In other words, even if Jack's strength is still the middle stage of the 6th level evolver, when evaluating Jack's true strength, it must be treated at the level of the late stage of the 6th level evolver. Such a genius is stronger than his level. We definitely have no way to deal with him. We can only rely on you. Li Keishu looked at Lin Fan and said. Everyone just do their best. Lin Fan smiled slightly, and he didn't feel too much pressure. What's more, if he can easily become the first in such a global genius competition, it doesn't seem to have much meaning. Time passed quickly. After wandering around outside for an hour, just when Lin Fan and others were about to go back to the helicopter to rest, several familiar figures bumped into them. Lin Fan, Kane greeted Lin Fan and others when he saw them. Kane, Lin Fan also greeted Kane. Kane came forward and chatted with Lin Fan for a few words, then asked, have you heard about Jack? Yes, he is the #1 genius in the United States. We saw him over there just now. Lin Fan nodded. Yes, Jack is the #1 genius in the United States. I heard from our leader that he has the strength of a mid-level 6th level evolver. He is really a strong opponent, Kane said in a deep voice. Chapter 639 2 Games. Kane's strength has also reached the level of the late stage of the 5th level evolver. He is only a little short of being successfully promoted to the peak of the 5th level evolver, but compared with a genius like Jack, the gap is still very large. Therefore, when he knew that Jack had the strength of the middle stage of the 6th level evolver, his mood was still a bit complicated. This means that he does not have the qualifications to compete with a genius like Jack. Lin Fan reached out and patted Kane on the shoulder, smiling and said, only when there are people in front can we have the motivation to surpass. If there is no one in front, then the motivation for our own struggle will be much smaller. Don't you think this is the truth? Hearing what Lin Fan said, Kane nodded and said, yes, it's the same as when we were studying before. Only when there are people in front can we have the motivation to catch up. Yes, the truth is the same. Lin Fan smiled. After continuing to chat with Kane for a while, Lin Fan and Kane also separated. When they returned to the helicopter, it didn't take long for Dong Xianzhuo to come back from the meeting. I learned the exact news during the meeting just now. Dong Xianzhuo looked at Lin Fan and others, and said in a deep voice, there are a total of 230 participants from the 60 countries participating in the Global Genius competition this time, and there are 8 level 6 evolvers. There is no doubt that the top 5 will be born from these 8 people. 8. Lin Fan was still a little surprised by this data. He didn't expect there were so many. Yes, including you, there are 8 level 6 evolvers. According to our discussion and decision, the 8 of you will directly advance to the last round and don't have to compete with other players like that, Dong Xianzhuo said in a deep voice, After the competition of the level 5 evolvers is over, if there are level 5 evolvers who feel that they have the strength to challenge the level 6 evolvers, they can propose a challenge, but I don't think this kind of thing will happen. There's only one level difference between the level 5 evolvers and the level 6 evolvers, even if it is the peak of the level 5 and the early level of the level 6, but the difference in strength between the two can be said to be incomparably huge. Except for those like Lin Fan who have powerful supernatural powers to enhance their own strength, it is difficult for others to have the strength to challenge across levels. That is to say, the top 5 places are basically fought over by the 8 of you, Dong Xianzhou emphasized. Murenzhou, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishu were all able to accept such a result. They had a clear understanding of their own strength and knew that they had no chance to compete for the top 5. After that, Dong Xianzhou looked at Murenzhou, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishu, and continued, "You 4 should also perform well." Although this global genius competition is mainly to determine the top 5 candidates, there are still rich rewards for good performance in the level 5 evolution competition. These rewards are funded by all the participating countries. Yes, Murenzhou, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishu all answered in unison. "Well, it's getting late. You should all have a good rest tonight and adjust your state to welcome tomorrow's global genius competition," Dong Xianzhou said. "Yes." Lin Fan and the other 5 responded. One night passed quickly. The next morning, as soon as the sky brightened, the atmosphere on the island became very lively. "Let's go to the venue in the middle of the island," Dong Xianzhou looked at Lin Fan and the other 5 and said, "The global talent competition will be held in the venue in the middle of the island." That venue is opened up temporarily. Under the leadership of Dong Xianzhou, Lin Fan and the other 5 quickly arrived at the venue. At this time, many people had gathered at the venue. So many big guys. Li Keishu glanced over and couldn't help but sigh. The big guys he was talking about were naturally the leaders of various countries. If it was before the doomsday, they would definitely not have the opportunity to see such a gathering of scenes. Only when the doomsday broke out, they would have the opportunity to see it here. Lin Fan smiled slightly, read the data information of these people with the ring, and soon found another 7 level 6 evolvers. Among the 7 level 6 evolvers, except for Jack who was in the middle stage of the level 6 evolver, the rest were in the early stage of the level 6 evolver. After comparing them, Lin Fan was basically 100% sure that his opponent was only Jack. If he defeated Jack, he would win the first place in the global talent competition, and the others would not be his opponents at all. As for the strength of those big guys, he also roughly observed that they were almost all at the level of 6th level evolvers. Of course, there were also some who were at the peak of level 5 evolvers. This was a typical small country that did not have good resources to develop. After waiting here for almost an hour, a 70-year-old man walked to the center of the venue and said in a deep voice, "Everyone, be quiet first." As the words of this old man spread, the noisy voices in the venue quieted down, and everyone's eyes were focused on the old man. The old man's eyes also swept over the crowd, and he said loudly, "First of all, welcome to participate in the first Global Genius Competition. I will be responsible for hosting this Global Genius Competition. Now let me announce the rules of the competition. The competition is divided into 2 levels. First, the 5th level evolvers, and second, the 6th level evolvers. After the 5th level evolvers decide the winner, if they are confident in their own strength and believe that they can deal with the 6th level evolvers, they can apply at that time and will be arranged to participate in the competition of the 6th level evolvers. Regarding the issue of ruins exploration after the competition, I think you all know that there are 5 places for exploring the ruins, and only the top 5 in the Global Genius Competition are eligible. So, when you are competing, you should do your best and don't have any reservations. Of course, there is also the most crucial point. In this competition, killing is not allowed. It is a competition to stop at the right time. If you are fighting too excitedly and don't have time to stop at the most critical moment, then we will take action to prevent you from causing casualties. After all, you are all geniuses from different countries, and you are all the pillars of the future. We don't want you to have unnecessary casualties here. I hope you can understand this. Indeed. No matter how different the strengths of the people who come here to participate in the Global Genius Competition are, each of them is a genius from different countries. These people will grow up as expected and will become the pillars of the world in the future. In private, they have no control over casualties caused by conflicts, but the competition in this place is completely under their eyes, so they can naturally stop it. Okay, I've said everything I should say. All the level 5 evolvers who are participating in the competition, come up and draw lots to decide your opponents." As the old man spoke, he glanced at the back, and soon someone came up with a device for drawing lots. "The 4 of you go up and draw lots." Dong Xianzhuo looked at Murengzu and the other 4 and said with a smile. "Drawing lots to decide the opponent is the routine procedure of the competition." Yes, Murengzu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Lu Mingyun nodded, and without wasting time, they walked towards the old man. The rest of the level 5 evolvers also took action at this time. "Chief, this time, we will wait until the level 5 evolvers finish their competition before we will start the level 6 evolvers competition, right?" Lin Fan looked at Dong Xianzhuo and asked. "Yes, we will wait until all the level 5 evolvers competitions are over before we start your competition. After all, your competitions will definitely be very exciting and cannot be held at the same time," Dong Xianzhuo replied. At this point, Dong Xianzhuo added, "Based on my current understanding, your biggest opponent this time must be Jack, the number 1 genius in the United States. The rest of the people should not be able to beat you. When you compete, if you don't meet Jack at the beginning, then try not to show your superpowers, and save them for when you are against Jack. This can also have some unexpected effects, so that Jack will not know your superpowers in advance and make tactical changes." Dong Xianzhuo thought very carefully. Lin Fan's superpower of controlling objects through the air is very powerful. If the opponent knows in advance, he is likely to change his tactics. For example, he would not keep too far away from Lin Fan at the beginning, but would always stay close to Lin Fan, so that he could find a chance to hurt Lin Fan. Otherwise, if he kept too far away at the beginning, Lin Fan would control the hidden weapon to attack continuously in front of his body, and it would be difficult for the opponent to get close even if he was stronger than Lin Fan. Dong Xianzhuo gave this suggestion because he knew that Lin Fan had the ability to challenge opponents of higher levels without using his superpowers. If Lin Fan could really go to the last round and fight Jack without using his superpowers, that would naturally be the best result. "Okay, Chief," Lin Fan nodded. Even if Dong Xianzhuo didn't remind him, he thought so in his heart. Superpowers are his trump cards. Since they are trump cards, they should naturally be kept until the last minute to be used, so that they can achieve the effect of surprise. After a while, Murengzu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Lu Mingyun came back after drawing lots. A total of 230 people participated in the Global Genius competition. Excluding Lin Fan and other 8 level 6 evolvers, there are equivalent to 222 level 5 evolvers. Lin Fan took a look at the numbers drawn by Murengzu and the other 3. They were 13, 86, 128, and 156. "What are the specific rules of the competition?" Lin Fan asked. "I heard the host say that it seems that in the first round, number 1 will play against number 2, number 3 will play against number 4, and so on," Murengzu replied. When they went up to draw lots just now, the old man did mention such a rule to them. "Then the 4 of you will be staggered and will not become opponents of each other." Lin Fan smiled slightly. "This is also good." "Yes, in the first round, we will definitely not meet each other," Murengzu replied. Chapter 640, Not Too Harsh. Soon, all the level 5 evolvers who went up to draw lots returned to their original positions. The old man glanced at the field and said loudly, "The first round of competition, the rules of the battle are very simple, starting from number 1 versus number 2, number 3 versus number 4, number 5 versus number 6, and so on. Each round will have 10 games at the same time, and the scope of the field has been marked. Whoever goes out of the circle first loses, and the winner advances to the next round. Of course, if you don't go out of the circle, you can also take the initiative to admit defeat after realizing that your strength is really not the opponent's opponent. No one will laugh at you, just be yourself. Now, contestants from number 1 to 20 will go on stage, each enter your venue, and be ready for battle. There are many people participating in the written test, and there will be several rounds of battles. If they are carried out one by one, I don't know how much time will be wasted. Therefore, each round cannot have only one game, but 10 games will be carried out at the same time. You are number 13, you will go up in the first round." Lin Fan looked at Murengzu. The number she drew was 13, which was in the range of 1 to 20. Yet, Murengzu nodded. "Go ahead, don't feel too much pressure, just do your best," Lin Fan said with a smile. "Okay, I'll go first," Shan nodded again, and then without wasting time, she walked towards the center of the field. The other players also took to the field. Lin Fan quickly focused his attention on Shan's opponent, a young man who looked about 23 years old. Lin Fan used the ring to read the man's data. Species, human level 5 strength, 20 speed, 20 reaction, 20 power, none. The man's data appeared in Lin Fan's sight. From the data, this man was only at the early stage of the 5th level evolver. Such strength, even at the peak of the 5th level evolver, could not pose any threat to Zhu. After all, Zhu's current strength was only one step away from becoming a late stage of the 5th level evolver, and there was no problem in defeating this man. The man's eyes fell on Zhu. He was undoubtedly amazed by her appearance and figure. He didn't expect his opponent to be such a beautiful woman. In his opinion, Zhu should be at the same level as him, still at the early stage of the 5th level evolver, and it is possible that she has just been promoted to the early stage of the 5th level evolver. Thinking of this, he felt that he had already won this battle, and advancing to the next round of competition was an inevitable result. However, during the battle, he was thinking whether he should be gentler with Zhu. If he could leave a good impression on Zhu, then after the battle, he might be able to chat with Zhu. Zhu didn't know what the man was thinking, but she could clearly see the greed in his eyes. Such greed, you can guess what's going on with your toes. For such people, Zhu has always been very disdainful. What's more, in Zhu's eyes, no one can be better than Lin Fan. Compared with Lin Fan, other men are not worth mentioning. The old man glanced at the field. When he saw that all the 20 people who were competing in the first round were standing in the field, he didn't waste time. He waved his hand and said, "The competition begins." When they were competing, there was a middle-aged man standing next to each field. Such a middle-aged man was very strong, and had the strength of a peak level 5 evolver. Standing next to the field was not to watch the fight between them at close range, but to stop someone from killing them. As the old man finished speaking, the atmosphere in the field instantly became tense. The man opposite Zhu was ready to say hello to Zhu before starting the fight. However, Zhu didn't want to give him a chance to speak, nor did she want to say anything more to him. As soon as the old man finished speaking, Zhu launched an attack. Zhu's toes touched the ground, and her whole body quickly rushed towards the man at a very fast speed. Because Zhu didn't intend to waste time with the other party, and defeating the other party at the fastest speed and in the shortest time was the kingly way. So fast, the man saw Zhu rushing towards him, and his face couldn't help but change. He didn't expect Zhu's speed to be so fast. It seems that Zhu's strength should not have just been promoted to the early stage of the 5th level evolver. Without time to think about anything, the man held his breath and stared at Zhu. When Zhu approached him, he took the means of attack. The man stretched out his palm, clenched it into a fist, and punched Zhu. Zhu stretched out her jade hand expressionlessly, avoiding the man's fist attack, and stretched up along the man's arm. Snap! Zhu's jade hand slapped the man's arm muscles hard, and suddenly a crisp sound like a slap sounded. Hiss! The power of Zhu's slap was not small at all. It landed on the man's body, making the man gasp in pain. Level 5 evolver mid-stage? The man realized after this contact that Zhu was not at the initial stage of level 5 evolver, but at the peak of the mid-stage of level 5 evolver, infinitely close to the strength of the late stage of level 5 evolver. He realized that something was wrong, and after realizing it, he was about to push back, wanting to distance himself from Zhu before taking other measures to deal with her. Unfortunately, Zhu would not give him such an opportunity at all. Noticing that he wanted to distance himself, Zhu was faster than him and reacted faster than him. She continued to approach him, and her jade hand reached out again, slapping him on the chest. Bang! A dull sound rang out when the jade hand collided with the chest. Then, those who were paying attention to this venue clearly saw that the man's body quickly flew backwards. In the process of flying backwards, the man let out a painful cry. There was no way. Zhu's slap was even more powerful than the previous one. He could imagine it without lifting his clothes to check. His chest must have been swollen and red, and it was even possible that it was bruised. Although he wanted to control his body to fall back to the ground and fight with Zhu again, his body was not under his subjective control. He still successfully flew out of the range of the venue. When he landed on the ground outside the venue, he almost fell to the ground. Fortunately, He stabilized his body in time. Damn, after the man landed, he couldn't help but curse in his heart. He originally thought that he could find a chance to try to challenge a higher level, but he didn't expect that he would lose so quickly. The old man who presided over the battle looked over here. He also didn't expect that the battle here ended so cleanly. After confirming that the man had left the range of the venue, the old man announced loudly, "Number 13 wins and advances to the next round of competition." After the old man announced, Murengzu did not stay any longer and turned around and walked back to Lin Fan and others. "This battle is still relatively easy for you," Lin Fan said with a smile. "Yes, that person's strength has not reached the middle stage of the 5th level evolver, but only the early stage of the 5th level evolver, so it is not difficult to deal with him," Murengzu said. "Well, take a break and adjust your condition," Lin Fan said. The following competition went on normally, and it was not long before Li Zihan came on stage. Li Zihan's opponent was a girl, and her strength was the same as Murengzu's opponent. Both of them were only at the peak of the 5th level evolver, and had not reached the middle stage of the 5th level evolver. With such strength, it was also easy for Li Zihan to deal with, and there was no difficulty at all. Therefore, after the competition began, Li Zihan quickly defeated his opponent. "Number 86 wins," the old man announced. Li Zihan walked back. After a while, it was Mu Hongling's turn to play. Mu Hongling's opponent was a man who looked a bit burly. Lin Fan read the man's data with a ring. Species, human level, level 5 strength. 21 speed. 21 reaction. 22 ability, none. After seeing the data of this man, Lin Fan can determine that his strength is at the level of the middle stage of the level 5 evolver. The man's eyes fell on Mu Hongling, and a smile flashed in his eyes. He actually said in Chinese, "Girl, don't worry, I won't be too heavy-handed, or you can just admit defeat when the time comes, so that I won't be cruel to you." This man went to study in China before the doomsday, so he still knows a little about Chinese. Hearing that he was speaking Chinese, a hint of surprise flashed across Mu Hongling's beautiful eyes, and she replied in a light tone, "If you want me to admit defeat, it depends on whether you have the ability. If you have the ability, I can admit defeat." Mu Hongling was also telling the truth. If the opponent's strength really reached the point of crushing her, she didn't need to be stubborn. This was not a shameful thing. "Haha, okay, then I'll show you my skills," the man laughed. In his eyes, Mu Hongling should be at the initial stage of the 5th level evolver. Anyway, it's impossible for her to be stronger than him. The competition begins. The old man who presided over the competition saw that all the contestants were ready, and he couldn't help but announce it. As the old man's voice fell, the battles in the field began. The man didn't seem to have the intention to attack Mu Hongling actively, but stood there and looked at Mu Hongling very easily. I don't know if he was despising Mu Hongling or showing his so-called gentlemanly demeanor. Mu Hongling didn't care so much, and his toes touched the ground, and his body quickly rushed towards the man. Rushing in front of the man, Mu Hongling clenched her jade fist and punched the man's chest. Facing Mu Hongling's attack, the man didn't dare to be careless at all, because he had realized from Mu Hongling's speed that Mu Hongling's strength was not that simple. Bang! The man also clenched his fist, took a deep breath, and collided with Mu Hongling with his fist, and a dull sound immediately rang out. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 641, Winning. Then, the man's face changed drastically. He didn't expect that Mu Hongling's fist would feel so strong. The collision of the fists caused him to feel a sharp pain in his hand, and his body retreated backwards at this time. After retreating more than 5 meters and about to leave the venue, he stomped his feet suddenly, and with the help of the force of stomping his feet, he stabilized his body and was not eliminated directly. "You are actually a late-stage 5th level evolver." The man's eyes locked on Mu Hongling's figure, revealing a deep disbelief in his eyes. He really didn't expect that Mu Hongling had successfully reached the late-stage 5th level evolver. After the man's words spread, they also attracted the attention of many people. These people focused their attention on Mu Hongling and started to discuss. "This beauty actually has the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver. It's incredible. Yes, it's so rare to have the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver at this age," It looks like she should be from Huaxia. I wonder whose woman she will become in the future. This kind of a question is not something we can consider. After hearing these discussions, Mu Hongling didn't pay much attention to anything else. But the sentence "I don't know whose woman she will become in the future" made her think of a figure. This figure was none other than Lin Fan. Mu Hongling's vision was so high that others could not imagine it. In her eyes, her future man must be stronger than her. If he is not as strong as her, he is not qualified to be her man. At present, among the people she knows and is familiar with, among the younger generation, only Lin Fan is stronger than her, or even far stronger than her. So, if she is really asked who she likes now, she will answer the name Lin Fan without hesitation. However, Lin Fan's existence was too special. She knew that she was not the only one who liked Lin Fan. Murin Zhu, Li Zihan and even Murin Shen also liked Lin Fan. None of the four women had expressed their feelings to Lin Fan directly. They all tacitly concealed their feelings. No one was willing to break this layer of window paper. Such a relationship was also good for them. After all, there is a saying that once some relationships are made clear, if they are not together, they may not even be friends. It was because of this that none of the four of them confessed to Lin Fan. "You are not my opponent." Mu Hongling retracted her emotions, looked at the man opposite, and said lightly. She said this just to give the other party a chance to admit defeat decently. If the other party did not know how to cherish it, then she would not have to save face for the other party. "I won't give up until the end." The man gritted his teeth and clenched his fists and said. His self-esteem was still very strong. If he was facing a man who was stronger than him, he might still admit defeat. But he was facing a woman now. In such an occasion, he felt it was too embarrassing to admit defeat to a woman. This was something he could not accept. "In that case, I will fulfill your wish," Mu Hongling still said coldly. After the voice fell, Mu Hongling rushed to the man again to attack. The man knew that he had retreated to the edge of the venue and was about to exit the venue directly. Seeing that Mu Hongling continued to attack, he did not dare to hesitate at all. He rushed forward for a distance and dodged to the side. Mu Hongling had the strength of a late-stage 5th-level evolver. He knew that if he fought Mu Hongling head-on, he would definitely not be Mu Hongling's opponent. He wanted to take a roundabout way to save the country and consume the battle by maneuvering. In this way, as long as time was delayed, he could see if he could find a suitable opportunity to launch a sneak attack and take Mu Hongling down when she was not paying attention. Unfortunately, he still underestimated Mu Hongling's strength. Even if he wanted to avoid Mu Hongling's attack, Mu Hongling would not give him such a chance. Mu Hongling's eyes were fixed on his figure. When he dodged to the side, Mu Hongling had already changed the direction of attack. "Not good." Seeing this, the man said in his heart that it was not good. He knew that he had been targeted by Mu Hongling. If he couldn't avoid it, he could only resist it. Gritting his teeth again, the man clenched his fists tightly and smashed at Mu Hongling with both fists. Facing the man's attack, Mu Hongling did not take it lightly. A hint of vigilance flashed across her beautiful eyes. She stretched out her hands and slapped the man's fists twice, knocking the man's fists out. Before the man could react, Mu Hongling attacked again and punched the man in the chest. Bang! A dull sound suddenly sounded, and the man's body flew backwards at this time. This time, even if he wanted to stay within the scope of the venue, he couldn't. Moreover, when he flew out, there was a trace of blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. Mu Hongling had already given him a chance, but he didn't know how to cherish it, so when he attacked, Mu Hongling didn't hold back too much. Originally, he could have taken the initiative to admit defeat, but he didn't take the initiative to admit defeat. He had to wait until his body was injured before he realized the seriousness of the matter. Then no one could blame him. After the old man saw the opponent flying out of the scope of the venue, he also announced that Mu Hongling's side won and advanced to the next round. Mu Hongling didn't delay and turned around and walked back. "Next, you are the only one who hasn't participated in the first round of the competition." Lin Fan looked at Li Keishu and said with a faint smile. Li Keishu smiled and nodded, saying, "I hope my luck is better, and I don't meet people at the peak of the 5th level of evolution as soon as I go up. In that case, it will be more difficult to hold on. Those who come here to participate in the Global Genius competition are all people with real strong strength. Except for Lin Fan, who has special abilities, everyone's strength cannot be viewed with ordinary eyes. Therefore, Li Keishu does not think that he can challenge the person who has won the peak of the 5th level guardian. In this way, He naturally does not want to meet such a strong opponent. It shouldn't be. Lin Fan smiled and comforted. There are not many people who have reached the peak of the 5th level evolution in the global genius competition this time. I estimate that there will be no more than 30 people. Lin Fan has read the data of all the candidates with a ring. He knows very well that there are only 26 people who have reached the peak of the 5th level evolution among the candidates. However, he cannot tell the specific data. If he tells this specific data, others will definitely be curious about how he knows it. What's more, there is someone like Dong Xianzhuo next to him. As expected, after hearing what Lin Fan said, Dong Xianzhuo looked at Lin Fan and Li Keishu and said, Lin Fan's estimate is correct. Among the participants, there are indeed no more than 30 people who have reached the peak of the 5th level evolvers. In the first round, the chance of meeting someone at the peak of the 5th level evolvers is still relatively small, but starting from the second round, the chance of meeting someone is relatively large. At that time, it really depends on your luck. If you are lucky, you may be able to continue to move forward. If you are unlucky, you will end up in the second round. Dong Xianzhuo said this, and Li Keishu felt a little more comforted in her heart, and she was not so nervous. After a while, it was Li Keishu's turn to go on stage. I'll go, Li Keishu said, no longer hesitating, and walked towards the venue. Lin Fan and others focused their attention on the venue where Li Keishu was. After Li Keishu entered the venue, about half a minute later, his opponent also appeared. His opponent was a man who is only about 1.5 meters tall. Although he was only about 1.5 meters tall, this man's strength should not be underestimated. Like Li Keishu, he also had the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver. Fortunately, the opponent was not one step away from the peak of the 5th level evolver. He should be one of those who had just been promoted to the late-stage 5th level evolver. During the battle between Li Keishu and the opponent, as long as she was not careless and careful, there should be no big problems. The competition begins. When the old man announced the start of the competition, the man of about 1.5 meters directly attacked Li Keishu. It was obvious that he intended to make a quick decision and end the battle as quickly as possible. Bang! 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 Li Keishu and the opponent fought fiercely, and dull sounds continued to spread. They both seemed to be evenly matched. Li Zihan looked at the battle between Li Keishu and the opponent and frowned. When Dong Xianzhuo was about to speak, Lin Fan had already said, it seems that they are evenly matched, but if you observe carefully, you can still find that Li Keishu's strength is slightly stronger than the other party. The other party is just more aggressive in attack. Hearing Lin Fan say this, Dong Xianzhuo couldn't help but look up to Lin Fan in his heart. He felt that Lin Fan's analysis was very accurate, which was enough to show that Lin Fan's vision was extraordinary. If it were someone else who was at the initial stage of the 6th level of evolution, he would definitely not be able to do what Lin Fan did. Lin Fan is a Chinese. It is really an honor for us Chinese, Dong Xianzhuo said in his heart. He was happy that Lin Fan was a Chinese. After all, if a genius like Lin Fan was from another country, it would be too bad for China. So, Li Keishu can win this competition, right? Li Zihan asked again. Well, as long as he's not careless, he will definitely win, Lin Fan nodded. This is also true. In a battle between two people, if the difference in strength is not too big, if the stronger party is more reckless and careless in the battle, there is a high probability that many negligence will occur. In this way, when the opponent seizes the opportunity, it will cause a fatal blow to the companion. Hearing this, Li Zihan nodded slightly and said, then there should be nothing to worry about. No matter what conflicts they had with Li Keishu before, it is already a thing of the past. Now they are winning glory for the country, so naturally they still hope that Li Keishu can perform better. Chapter 642. The prediction is very accurate. The fact was not beyond Lin Fan's expectation. After Li Keishu fought with the opponent for a while, the opponent still showed some weakness and strength, and Li Keishu seized the opportunity instantly. Li Keishu flashed to the side of the opponent's body, first punched the opponent's shoulder, and after pushing the opponent back a little distance, he raised his foot and kicked the opponent's waist. Bang! This kick, there was another dull sound. The opponent's body could not be controlled at this time, and flew to the side at a very fast speed. As expected, it flew directly out of the range of the venue. The old man looked over and saw that the opponent had left the range of the venue, and immediately announced that Li Keishu won. In this way, Mu Hongsu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishu, All four of them successfully advanced. After the battle, Li Keqiu did not delay, turned around and walked back to Lin Fan and others, and said with a smile, "It seems that I am lucky that I didn't meet anyone at the peak of the 5th level of evolution in the first round. The competition in the second round will be very fierce." Li Zihan sighed leisurely. "There is nothing we can do about it." Murenzhu smiled and shook her head. The other geniuses were not vegetarians. With their strength, if they kept winning, it would be very abnormal. Murenzhu had already prepared herself mentally for elimination in the second round. The other contestants continued to compete. After about an hour, the first round of competition finally ended. Congratulations to the 114 people who have advanced to the second round. Now continue to draw lots to determine your second round competition order. The old host glanced at everyone and said loudly. Murenzhu and others went up to draw lots again. When they came back with their numbers, the old man continued, "Now you have half an hour to rest. Hurry up and adjust your state. Those who have energy crystals should use energy crystals to recover, and those who don't have energy crystals should rest and recover normally." In the first round of competition, for Murenzhu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keqiu, they did not consume too much physical strength and energy, and they did not need to rest much. In the second round, they got numbers 3, 13, 26 and 36. "The numbers you drew this time are quite close." Lin Fan looked at their numbers and said with a smile. "Yes, if this round is also 10 matches each time, then our first 2 matches are over." Murenzhu smiled slightly. Dong Xianzhuo interrupted and said, "The second round should not be 10 matches each time. It is estimated that it will be reduced to 5 matches each time. After all, the second round of competitions will definitely be more exciting than the first round. There is no need to end it so quickly. Anyway, in terms of time, 1 day is enough for the competition." Hearing what Dong Xianzhuo said, Lin Fan and others also felt that it was reasonable. It doesn't matter if the competition is not so exciting to end quickly, but it is better to end the competition slowly if it is exciting enough. In this way, people can also learn some combat experience. Half an hour passed quickly. During this half hour, some people who consumed too much energy used energy crystals to recover. After all, not everyone won the first round as easily as Murenzhu and the other 4 did. There were many groups where the strength of both sides was evenly matched. And there was no obvious gap. It was a pure war of attrition. For this kind of group battle, the winner would consume a lot of energy. If he did not use energy crystals to recover, half an hour would not be enough to recover. The old host saw that the time was up, glanced at everyone, and said loudly, "Okay, half an hour has passed, let's start the second round of competition." In the second round, there will no longer be 10 games each time, but 5 games will be reduced to half. As for the numbers of the matches, it will still be number 1 versus number 2, number 3 versus number 4, number 5 versus number 6, and so on. Now, contestants number 1 to 10, please enter the venue and get ready. As the old man's voice fell, contestants number 1 to 10 went on stage one after another. "Then I'll go up first." Murenzhu's eyes flashed, and she looked at Lin Fan and said, "Okay, go." Lin Fan nodded. Murenzhu did not delay any longer and walked towards the venue. Lin Fan noticed that Murenzhu's opponent this time was a person with the strength of a mid-level 5th level evolver. From the surface, it was unclear whether the opponent was stronger or Murenzhu was stronger. We had to wait until the two of them actually fought to know. The competition begins. After seeing that everyone was ready, the old man did not waste time, waved his hand and announced the start of the competition. Soon, the 20 people in the field fought together. Lin Fan looked at Murenzhu's battlefield, and after a while, he felt relieved. With his eyesight, he could already judge that the opponent was not Murenzhu's opponent and would definitely be defeated by Murenzhu. As expected by Lin Fan, after more than 10 minutes, the opponent was defeated by Murenzhu. Although the opponent was as strong as Murenzhu, he did not have as much practical experience as Murenzhu, so it was reasonable for him to be defeated by Murenzhu. After the old man announced the victory, Murenzhu walked back. "Take a break and adjust." Lin Fan glanced at Murenzhu and said with a smile. The battle just now lasted about 20 minutes. Since the opponent's strength was not very bad, 20 minutes was not a small amount of time for Murenzhu. Yet, Murenzhu nodded obediently and began to rest. "Numbers 11 to 20 will go on stage," the old man announced quickly. "It's my turn," Li Zihan said and stepped forward. Lin Fan fixed his eyes on Li Zihan's opponent and frowned slightly. Seeing Lin Fan frowning, Murenzhu couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Zihan's opponent this time is not simple. From the momentum, it seems that he has reached the level of a late 5th level evolver. Lin Fan still couldn't say it too clearly, and could only give a rough judgment. Although he was 100% sure that Li Zihan's opponent this time had the strength of a late 5th level evolver, he couldn't express it directly. Hearing Lin Fan say this, Murenzhu's pretty face also condensed slightly, and said, "If the opponent has the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver, then Zihan should not be a match, right?" "Yes," Lin Fan nodded. "The strength of the people here is not simple. If you want to challenge a higher level, you must have a trump card. They have been in contact with Li Zihan for a long time, and they know very well that Li Zihan has no trump card. There is no way. If you really can't beat him, you can only go to this point," Murenzhu said. "Yet," Lin Fan nodded again. "This can only be blamed on bad luck. Li Zihan's efforts are obvious to everyone. It's not that Li Zihan doesn't want to go further in the competition, but his strength has reached a point that is not allowed." Soon, the competition in the field started. Just as Lin Fan expected, Li Zihan's strength was not that of the man. The man showed the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver. After a while, he took the upper hand and suppressed Li Zihan. After about 5 or 6 minutes, Li Zihan was successfully repelled out of the field. Fortunately, the opponent didn't have much heart when he attacked because Li Zihan was a girl. He just forced Li Zihan out of the venue. When the old man announced the victory of the other party, Li Zihan turned around and walked back to Lin Fan and others. "Failed," Li Zihan said a little sadly. No matter what, losing would bring her some bad emotions. Murenzhu took Li Zihan's hand and said, "It doesn't matter. It's just bad luck that we met someone in the late stage of the 5th level evolver. We will all fail next time. This is something that cannot be changed. After all, there will definitely be people at the peak of the 5th level evolver. Yes, Zihan, we will all be eliminated," Mu Hongling also said. "Elimination is inevitable. We are not this guy Lin Fan," Li Keishu comforted and teased him. "One failure doesn't mean anything, as long as it is not a permanent failure," Lin Fan also comforted. Hearing this, Li Zihan's mood suddenly became much better. Women are like this. No matter how strong a woman is, she hopes that someone will care about her. Lin Fan and the others' words really brought great concern to Li Zihan, and she felt much warmer in her heart. "Well, I won't be discouraged," Li Zihan nodded heavily. "This is you," Lin Fan smiled slightly. Thinking back to the first time they met Li Zihan was forced to jump down from the mountain and was injured. He was already in a dying state. If he hadn't used energy crystals to treat Li Zihan would have died long ago, and there would be no chance to stand here and talk to them. In that situation, Li Zihan survived strongly. He believed that this failure was nothing to Li Zihan, and he believed that Li Zihan would soon regain his confidence. The third match of the second round was the turn of Mu Hongling's shopping mall. Mu Hongling's opponent was a person in the late stage of the 5th level evolver. The battle between the two sides was very fierce, but in the end Mu Hongling narrowly defeated the opponent. As for Li Keishu, her luck was also a bit bad. After going on the court, Lin Fan found that Li Keishu's opponent had the strength of a peak 5th level evolver. Although Li Keishu was only one step away from reaching the peak level of the 5th level evolver, he still hadn't successfully crossed that step. Therefore, with such a gap, Li Keishu still couldn't win, and was defeated by the opponent not long after. After the old man announced the result, Li Keishu walked back and said with a self-deprecating smile, "Look, what did I just say? We will all be eliminated, and now I am eliminated. Facts have proved that my prediction is still very accurate." As soon as he said this, Li Zihan laughed out loud first. Chapter 643 Exchange Numbers. Seeing that Li Keishu, a level 5 evolver at the late stage, was eliminated, Li Zihan felt more comfortable. This was not to say that she was gloating over Li Keishu's failure, but she felt that if Li Keishu, a level 5 evolver at the peak of her strength, was defeated, then it was normal for her, a level 5 evolver at the middle stage, to be defeated. "It's okay, it's good to participate, at least you all tried your best," Dong Xianzhuo also spoke up at this time. Dong Xianzhuo's hopes were all placed on Lin Fan. From a certain perspective, how Murenzhu and the others performed was not very important, as long as Murenzhu and the others had a clear conscience. After all, if Lin Fan could win the first place in this global talent competition, everyone would remember Lin Fan's name and that Lin Fan was from China. At that time, naturally no one would bother about whether Murinzu and the others performed well or not, because those were not important compared to winning the championship. After the second round of competition, half of the people were eliminated. There are 57 people participating in the third round. There must be an extra number without an opponent. The person who draws this number will automatically advance to the fourth round. The old host swept his eyes over the crowd and said loudly, "Now I can tell you clearly that whoever draws number 57 will be extremely lucky. Contestant number 57 does not need to participate in the third round and will directly advance to the fourth round." After the old man finished speaking, there were waves of discussions around. "I hope I can draw number 57. It would be great if I can. It's not just you who wants to draw number 57. We all want to draw number 57. Okay, haha. My luck will definitely be better than yours, and number 57 will definitely be drawn by me. Dream on. Number 57 is mine." Everyone said that those who participated in the third round of the competition, whether they were lucky enough to be promoted with the initial strength of a 5th level evolver, or they were promoted with a peak strength of a 5th level evolver, at this time, they all wanted to draw number 57. After all, this is an opportunity to advance directly without participating in the competition. Who wouldn't want such an opportunity? Seeing that everyone was discussing so intensely, the old man could not help but continue to say, "Everyone, please be quiet for a moment. No matter who draws number 57, it is because of good luck. You don't have to get too excited about this kind of thing. Those who draw number 57 must be lucky, but those who don't draw number 57, won't you adjust your mentality and continue the competition? There is no way to prevent the existence of number 57. The number of people has become an odd number, so such measures must be taken. Okay, now it's time for you to come up and draw lots. I also want to see who among you will have better luck." After saying that, the old man pointed to the lottery box in front of him, indicating that those who participated in the third round of the competition could go up and draw lots. "Hongling, let's go up and draw lots." Muronxu tilted her head to look at Mu Hongling and said with a faint smile, "Li Zihan and Li Keishu have been eliminated. Now only she and Mu Hongling are left to continue to participate in the third round of the competition." Okay, Mu Hongling nodded, and without wasting time, she and Muronxu walked towards the lottery box together. Before them, some people who were already nervous had already drawn lots. Even with the old man's words, they couldn't resist their excitement to draw number 57. The old man could only shake his head helplessly at this scene. Muronxu and Mu Hongling quickly drew lots and walked back to Lin Fan and others. Mu Hongling was the first to open the number, which had a number written on it, 50. Then, Lin Fan and others' eyes converged on Muronxu. Muronxu did not hesitate and also opened it to take a look. It had a number written on it, 57. Muronxu was stunned for a moment in disbelief, and then she reacted and said, "I didn't expect my luck to be so good, really." Li Keishu's eyes also showed a touch of surprise. Li Zihan and Mu Hongling were also very surprised. They didn't expect that number 57 was drawn by Muronxu. "Good luck," Lin Fan said with a smile. He was also surprised that Muronxu could draw number 57. Dong Xianzhuo looked over and confirmed that the number above was indeed number 57. He smiled faintly and said, "Good luck is also a manifestation of strength." Hearing what Dong Xianzhuo said, Muronxu took a deep breath and suddenly said, "I don't want this number 57. Huh?" Muronxu's words immediately made Lin Fan and others unable to react. Lin Fan didn't know why Muronxu said that, so he couldn't help but ask, "What's wrong?" Muronxu pondered and said, "My strength is only at the middle stage of the 5th level evolver. Even if I make it through the third round by chance, I will definitely be eliminated in the fourth round. Instead of that, I might as well give number 57 to Hongling and let her successfully enter the fourth round." Hongling's strength has reached the peak of the late 5th level evolver, and she is close to becoming a peak 5th level evolver. If she is promoted to the fourth round with her strength, if she is lucky enough and doesn't meet someone who is at the peak of the 5th level evolver, she may have a chance to advance to the 5th round. In this way, she can get a better ranking in the competition at this stage of the 5th level evolver. Muronxu thought very clearly at this moment. She could rely on good luck to draw number 57 to advance to the fourth round, but she could definitely be lucky enough to advance to the fifth round in the fourth round. After all, those who can reach the fourth round are very powerful, and she knows very well that her strength will not allow her to reach the fifth round. After thinking about it, she felt that giving number 57 to Mu Hongling was the wisest decision. Mu Hongling advanced to the fourth round. As long as she didn't meet someone at the peak of the 5th level of evolution in the 4th round, it would be a sure thing for her to advance to the 5th round. Sister Zhu, this is the number you drew. How can you give it to me? Mu Hongling didn't expect Murinzu to make such a decision, and hurriedly shook her head and said, "It really doesn't make much sense for me to use this number. This number will definitely play a greater role in your hands than in my hands." Murinzu hurriedly said, "What's more, everyone doesn't know each other's numbers yet. After all the numbers are made public, it won't be very convenient for us to change numbers." Mu Hongling opened her mouth and didn't know what to say for a moment. But what is 100% certain is that she was very touched in her heart. If someone else drew number 57, how could they consider giving it to her for nothing? At this time, the two of them looked at Lin Fan at the same time. Feeling the gazes of Murinzu and Mu Hongling, Lin Fan naturally knew what they meant. This was because they couldn't make up their minds and wanted him to help them make a decision. Lin Fan thought for a moment and said, "We are all fighting for China and for the collective honor. It is not impossible to take such measures." While speaking, Lin Fan looked at Dong Xianzhuo and said, "Chief, since Xiaoxu voluntarily gave up the chance of directly advancing with number 57, then let's give number 57 to Hongling. Let Hongling advance to the 4th round, so that the chance of advancing to the 5th round will be greater." Lin Fan knew that Murinzu was a sensible girl and would not mind him speaking so bluntly. He was indeed right. After he said this, in Murinzu's view, he was indeed someone who really understood her. Just now, Murinzu was still worried that Lin Fan would not understand their approach after she mentioned the method of changing numbers. Now it seems that she was overthinking it. Lin Fan understood her approach very well. Dong Xianzhuo thought about it. Since this was all voluntary on Murinzu's part, it meant that Murinzu was ready to give up the advancement. "Okay, then you exchange numbers with each other," Dong Xianzhuo quickly agreed. It would be the wisest decision to change numbers quickly while no one has announced their numbers yet. So, Murinzu and Mu Hongling did not waste any more time and immediately exchanged the numbers in their hands. Mu Hongling whispered, "Sister Zhu, thank you, you're welcome, it's all for the honor of the group." Murinzu smiled slightly. After they exchanged their numbers, the rest of the people also opened the lots they drew one after another. "Hey! It's number 20, not number 57. I'm number 28, I'm number 18, who has number 57? I don't know, I should know later." After all, number 57 doesn't have to participate in the 3rd round of the competition, and will directly advance to the 4th round. The other participants in the 3rd round discussed again. After all 57 people drew lots and walked back, the old man said loudly, "Now, who of you drew number 57? Raise your hand and let me see." Everyone looked back and forth in the field, as if they all wanted to see who was the lucky one. Mu Hongling took a deep breath, and then without hesitation, raised the number 57 in her hand. "Number 57 is over there." Mu Hongling raised her jade hand, and everyone's eyes immediately focused on her. The old man also set his eyes on Mu Hongling and said with a smile, "Okay, congratulations on drawing number 57. Now come up and hand me number 57. You will automatically advance to the 4th round of the competition. You can just be a lucky spectator in the 3rd round." Mu Hongling walked towards the old man and handed over number 57 in her hand. The old man took a look and confirmed that there was no problem. Mu Hongling turned around and walked back to Lin Fan and others. Obviously, the old man and others did not realize that Murinzu and Mu Hongling had exchanged numbers. The old man said in a loud voice, "In the 3rd round of competition, the first 5 times, each time there are 5 matches. Number 1 versus number 2, number 3 versus number 4, number 5 versus number 6, and so on. The last 3 matches from number 51 to number 56 will be held at the same time. Now, starting from number 1 to 10, please enter the venue and get ready." After the old man finished speaking, the people who got number 1 to 10 went to the venue one after another. "The competition begins." The old man waved his palm and announced. Chapter 644, Advancement to the 5th Round. Mu Hongling's original number was 50. After she changed her number to Murinzu, Murinzu naturally had to wait until the 50th to go on stage. You can pay attention to the fight between these people now. Maybe your opponent will appear at that time. It will be good for you to observe and understand their offensive and defensive methods. Lin Fan looked at Mu Hongling and reminded her. Mu Hongling was destined to advance to the fourth round of the competition, which meant that there must be her opponent among the contestants who appeared in the third round. In this way, she can understand some of the habits of her opponents in advance, which is naturally only good and no harm. Yet, hearing Lin Fan say this, Mu Hongling nodded obediently and watched the competition in the field seriously. The third round, the first game, the second game, the third game, and the fourth game ended quickly. When it came to the fifth game, it was Murengzu's turn to go on stage. If the opponent has the strength of a peak level 5 evolver, then just admit defeat. I will give you a hint based on the opponent's momentum. You should pay attention to my gestures later, Lin Fan reminded her before Murengzu went on stage. In the third round, there is a high chance that she will encounter someone at the peak of the 5th level. Murengzu only has the strength of a mid-level 5th level. When she encounters someone at the peak of the 5th level, the gap between them is too big. There is no point in competing. She would rather admit defeat and avoid getting hurt. If she encounters someone at the late stage of the 5th level, Murengzu still has the strength to fight and can barely deal with him. It is a good thing to accumulate more practical experience. Okay, Murengzu nodded. Her venue this time is facing Lin Fan and others. As long as she pays a little attention, she can clearly see Lin Fan's gestures. At that time, she only needs to make the corresponding choice according to Lin Fan's gestures. Murengzu walked into the venue. After about 10 seconds, another figure also came to the venue. Lin Fan narrowed his eyes slightly and read the other party's data information with his ring. He immediately knew that the other party was a person at the peak of the 5th level. Facing such a person, Murengzu did not need to fight. So, Lin Fan made a gesture to Murengzu to admit defeat. Murengzu had been paying attention to Lin Fan's movements. After seeing Lin Fan's gesture, she clearly understood that he was asking her to admit defeat. However, the old man had not announced the start of the competition yet, so she had to wait until the old man announced the start of the competition before she could admit defeat. After all the contestants entered the venue, the old man announced loudly, "The competition begins." As the old man's voice fell, the battles in the other venues immediately began. On Murengzu's side, the man's eyes were fixed on Murengzu. Although he admired Murengzu's appearance and figure, now was the time for fighting, and he had no time to appreciate anything too much. However, just when he was about to attack Murengzu, he heard Murengzu say lightly, "I admit defeat." His raised steps stopped abruptly. He didn't expect Murengzu to admit defeat so straightforwardly and decisively. It's not that no one has admitted defeat in previous battles. When they heard Murengzu admit defeat, they didn't feel too surprised. After all, there is really no need to waste time when you find that your strength is far inferior to that of the opponent. After the old man heard Murengzu's words of surrender, he also announced the news of the opponent's victory. Murengzu turned around and walked back to Lin Fan and others, smiling and said, "Fortunately, I met this opponent. If Hongling met it, it would be difficult to deal with it. Yes, if you don't exchange numbers with each other, then Hongling will meet this opponent." Dong Xianzhou nodded and said, "This guy's strength is not simple. I have observed him when he played against other players before. At the level of the peak of the 5th level evolver, his strength may be ranked in the top 3. With such strength, I can only admit defeat if I meet him," Mu Hongling said helplessly. Lin Fan felt that Dong Xianzhou was very accurate. The reason why this guy was considered by Dong Xianzhou to be ranked in the top 3 at the level of the peak of the 5th level evolver was actually because this guy's strength data and reaction data had reached the level of the 6th level evolver, and only the speed data was not enough. Once the speed data increases a little more, this guy will be able to become a genuine 6th level evolver. After the 5th round of competition, the 6th round of competition was only held in 3 venues. After all, the number only ended at number 56. The competition in the 3 venues did not take up too much time and ended quickly. 56 people fought against each other, 28 were eliminated, and 28 advanced. In addition to Mu Hongling who automatically advanced with number 57, the number of people participating in the 4th round of competition will be 29. It is still an odd number. If nothing unexpected happens, there will be a lucky draw in the 4th round. You guys take a rest first, and then come up to draw lots to decide your opponent after the rest, the old man glanced and said slowly. Half an hour later, the old man spoke again, "Okay, come up and draw lots." Mu Hongling quickly went up and drew back. Opening it, the number this time was number 8. The old man said in a loud voice, There are a total of 29 contestants in the fourth round. Those who draw number 29 still do not need to take the written test and will directly advance to the fifth round. Haha, my number is 29. A happy voice immediately spread in the crowd. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. They all wanted to see who this lucky person was who had such good luck to draw number 29. Lin Fan took a look at the man's strength and found that he was actually at the peak level of the fifth level evolver. With the strength of the fifth level evolver, it is normal for him to enter the final round. He is so happy, it seems that he is really sighing at his good luck, Lin Fan said in his heart. If this person is a late-stage fifth level evolver, or even a mid-stage fifth level evolver, and is so happy to draw number 29, then it is nothing, but the other party is already a peak level fifth level evolver and is still so happy. In addition to good luck, it means that his mentality is not stable enough. Such a person will not be much better even if he achieves something in the future. Okay, congratulations to the contestant who drew number 29. Now please come up and hand number 29 to me. The old man looked at the man and said. The man did not delay at all and hurriedly walked towards the old man and handed the number 29 in his hand to the old man. The old man took the number 29 and took a look. After confirming that there was no problem, he said, "You will directly advance to the fifth round. Just be a spectator in the fourth round." The man smiled happily and turned back. After he walked back, the old man said, "The fourth round of competition will be 5 games each time. The third time will be 4 games. The rules are the same as before. Number 1 will play against number 2, number 3 will play against number 4, number 5 will play against number 6, and so on. Now, the contestants who drew numbers 1 to 10, please enter the venue and get ready." Although the competition will be more exciting as time goes on, in terms of time, it is still impossible to allow the competition of the fifth level evolvers to be held 1 game at a time. That would waste too much time. The elites from all over the world gathered here, whether they were young or old, they were the best in the world. They couldn't stay here forever. After the competition, they still had their own things to do. "I'm number 8, I'll go up to compete first," Mu Hongling said. "Okay, go ahead, don't be too stressed, everything depends on the situation," Lin Fan said. This was Lin Fan telling Mu Hongling that if she found that she couldn't deal with her opponent, she could also take the means of admitting defeat like Murengzu, and she didn't need to hold on. After all, this was not a battle between life and death. After Mu Hongling and other players entered the venue, Lin Fan's eyes condensed and locked on Mu Hongling's opponent, and immediately found that Mu Hongling's opponent this time happened to be a person with the strength of a late-stage fifth-level evolver. Moreover, from the data point of view, Mu Hongling's various data were the same as the opponent. If they could win, on the one hand, it would depend on who had stronger practical experience, and on the other hand, it would depend on who was more careful. In this case, Lin Fan didn't have anything to worry about. Whether he could win or not depended entirely on Mu Hongling's performance. "The competition begins," the old man announced quickly. Everyone in the field didn't waste any time. As soon as the old man announced the start, they started fighting. Bang! Bang! The fight between Mu Hongling and her opponent was very intense. Murengzu stood beside Lin Fan and asked curiously, "Can you tell who is stronger between Hongling and that person?" "The difference between their strengths is not big. The key is to see who is more careful," Lin Fan replied. "Is that so?" Murengzu nodded. Her eyesight was not as good as Lin Fan's. Seeing such a close competition, she naturally couldn't see it as clearly as Lin Fan. However, since Lin Fan said so, it meant that the opponent's strength was not enough to crush Mu Hongling, so she didn't have to worry too much. The fight in the field continued, and soon there were results. What made Lin Fan and Murengzu happy was that Mu Hongling's opponent was careless and had a flaw, which Mu Hongling seized and defeated with 1 move. This meant that Mu Hongling won the 4th round and successfully advanced to the 5th round. Take a good rest first, so that you can face the 5th round in the best condition later. After Mu Hongling came back, Lin Fan said with a smile. Yes. Mu Hongling nodded and began to rest. The previous battle did consume a lot of her energy, so she should take a good rest and adjust now. Chapter 645 Top 10. The second round of the competition ended soon. There were 29 people participating in the competition. One person automatically advanced as number 29. The remaining 28 eliminated 14 people and advanced 14 people. In this way, the total number of people participating in the 5th round is 15. 15 is still an odd number. If nothing unexpected happens, someone will draw number 15 and have the chance to advance without participating in the competition. First of all, congratulations to the 15 people who have advanced to the 5th round of the competition. Come up and draw lots now. After drawing lots, you will be given 20 minutes to rest. After the rest, the 6th round of the competition will begin, the old man said. Mu Hongling and others went up to draw lots again. After drawing lots, Mu Hongling opened it and saw that it said number 15. At this time, the old man's voice continued to spread, saying, the contestant who draws number 15 does not need to participate in the 5th round of competition and will automatically advance to the 6th round. Who is number 15? This is so cool. Advancing to the 6th round means entering the top 10. Yes, there are only 15 people in the 5th round now. Advancing to the 6th round means being in the top 10, right? I wonder who will be the lucky one this time. Although I was eliminated, I also want to know who drew number 15. The moment the old man's voice fell, a heated discussion broke out in the field. They were all very curious about the person who drew number 15 and wanted to know who was so lucky. The old man swept his eyes over the crowd and said, the contestant who drew number 15, raise your hand. Mu Hongling raised her hand, immediately attracting everyone's attention. Damn. It's this girl again. She actually got another chance to advance automatically. This luck is too good. She got an opportunity to advance automatically just now, but she didn't expect to get another chance to advance automatically now. I guess she didn't expect she had such good luck. After all, she became the top 10 as soon as she advanced this time. Awesome, awesome. This luck is really amazing. Why don't I have such good luck? If everyone has such good luck, then everyone will advance. Will we be eliminated? I'm so envious that my eyes are red. When everyone knew that the person who drew number 15 this time was Mu Hongling, and Mu Hongling got the chance to advance automatically again, they all made envious voices. There was no way. This kind of advancement opportunity was really rare, and no one thought that Mu Hongling would get it twice. But envy is envy. Many of them have been eliminated, and it has nothing to do with them. As for those who have not been eliminated and will continue to participate in the competition, they also have a little envy in their hearts, but soon this envy was restrained by them, and they concentrated on preparing for the upcoming competition. No matter what, they still have to face the competition. And, most importantly, this round will determine who will enter the top 10. Although there were only 8 people participating in the competition in the 6th round, those 8 people were destined to be in the top 10 of course. These people don't know that the first time Mu Hongling advanced was because Murenzu and Mu Hongling exchanged numbers, otherwise, Mu Hongling would not have had the opportunity to advance for the first time. Thinking of this, Murenzu and Mu Hongling looked at each other and smiled. Li Keishu also sighed a little. His strength was not much different from Mu Hongling, but his luck was not as good as Mu Hongling. It was not just a matter of numbers, but when he met an opponent, his luck was not as good as Mu Hongling. Mu Hongling had never met someone with the peak strength of a level 5 evolver, but he met him in the 2nd round, which was enough to show that his luck was not as good as Mu Hongling. However, Mu Hongling represented the Chinese country like him, and he was still happy for Mu Hongling from the bottom of his heart. As before, Mu Hongling walked up and handed number 15 to the old man. The old man announced that Mu Hongling did not need to participate in the 5th round of the competition and automatically advanced to the 6th round. When Mu Hongling walked back, the old man said loudly, there are only 7 rounds in the 5th round. 3 rounds will start for the first time and 4 rounds will start for the second time. You are all ready? Yes, the contestants answered in unison. Soon, the 5th round of the competition began. The competition can be said to be very fierce. After all, everyone wants to rush up and become the top 10. The 5th round of the competition lasted for 40 minutes before it ended. The 7 people who passed the competition and advanced were exhausted. The old man glanced at the 7 of them and said, you 7 should take a good rest and adjust now. The 6th round of the competition will start in half an hour. Yes, the 7 people nodded and responded, and immediately began to rest and adjust. They did not advance directly like Mu Hongling. The consumption was so great. If they did not rest and adjust to recover, they would not be able to proceed well in the 6th round of the competition. While the 7 people were resting, Lin Fan's eyes also swept over them. He read the data again with a ring and was 100% sure that their strength had reached the peak level of the 5th level evolvers. From the performance of the 7 of them, It can be confirmed that they all have the strength of the 5th level evolvers, and they are very close to breaking through to become the 6th level evolvers. While speaking, Lin Fan shifted his gaze to Mu Hongling and said, according to this situation, with your strength, you should not be their opponent. After the 6th round begins, you can directly admit defeat. Anyway, it's already very good to be in the top 10. Hearing this, Mu Hongling nodded obediently and said, yes, many of those people at the peak of the 5th level evolvers have been eliminated. I am very lucky to be in the top 10 with the strength of the late 5th level evolver. Mu Hongling had seen the performance of the 7 people in the battle just now. She knew very well that with her strength, even if she fought desperately, she could not be their opponent. In this case, it would be the wisest decision for her to take the initiative to admit defeat. After hearing the conversation between Lin Fan and Mu Hongling, Dong Xianzhou also said, yes, Mu Hongling is indeed not as good as those 7 people. It is already very good to win a place in the top 10. Mu Hongling nodded again and said, I will admit defeat later. Half an hour passed in the blink of an eye. In the 6th round of competition, 8 people will participate. You will come up and draw lots again to decide your opponents. The old man said. Mu Hongling and others did not waste time and immediately went forward to draw lots. After drawing the lot, Mu Hongling opened it and saw that the number was 6. There are only 4 games in the 6th round of competition, 2 games each time. Number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4, you will compete first, the old man said. The players who drew numbers 1, 2, 3, and 4 enter the venue one after another. The old man announced, the competition begins. 2 fierce battles broke out instantly. The offensives of both sides were extremely fierce, and both wanted to defeat the other. After more than 20 minutes, the 2 battles ended, both of which ended with a narrow victory. It can be seen that the difference in strength between them is not big. Number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8, it's your turn to compete, the old man said. Mu Hongling and the other 3 did not delay and walked into the arena. Seeing that they were all ready, the old man announced again, the competition begins. The moment the voice fell, Mu Hongling's opponent was ready to attack. However, at this time, Mu Hongling said, I admit defeat. The man stopped and it can be seen that there was still a smile in his eyes. This result of winning without fighting should make anyone happy, not to mention that this happened in the 6th round of the competition. Give up? Give up now? Nonsense. She only has the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver, and her opponent is at the peak of a 5th level evolver. With such a gap in strength, if she doesn't give up, she will be defeated, and it will be a defeat without suspense. If it were you, would you give up? Well, now that you mention it, it seems to be true. Of course it is true. Being able to enter the top 10 with the strength of a late-stage 5th level evolver, what else is there to be dissatisfied about? Yes, if it were me, I would also be happy to give up. Anyway, my strength is there, and it is clear that I can't beat others. Yes, that's what I mean. After hearing the voice of Mu Hongling giving up, everyone started to discuss. Except for a few people who didn't understand Mu Hongling's giving up, the rest of the people expressed their approval of Mu Hongling's behavior of giving up. They all thought of the key to the problem. With such a big gap, there was no need to continue the competition. It would be enough to keep the top 10. The old man was not surprised at all by Mu Hongling's giving up. It can even be said that he had guessed this result at the beginning. In this case, the old man did not waste time and announced the victory. Mu Hongling walked back to Lin Fan and the others, and said with a smile, it's a pity that my strength was not improved enough before. If my strength was improved to the peak level of the 5th level evolver, I could have a good fight with him. It's okay. This result is already very good. Take your time. They are all older than you. It's just a matter of time before you surpass them, Lin Fan said with a smile. What Lin Fan said was also true. Those people were 1 or 2 years older than Mu Hongling. With Mu Hongling's talent and growth potential, it was indeed a matter of time before she surpassed those people. Of course, for Murengzu and Li Zihan, surpassing those people was not a problem either. Well, I have the confidence to surpass them later. Mu Hongling smiled and nodded. She still had this confidence. It's good to have confidence, Lin Fan smiled. After Mu Hongling admitted defeat, there were only 2 people still competing in the field, and everyone's eyes were all focused on those 2 people. Being focused on by so many people, the 2 people suddenly felt a lot of pressure in their hearts. However, despite the pressure, the competition must continue, as they both want to defeat the other and win. Chapter 646 Lin Fan enters the stage. The battle for the level 5 evolvers finally came to an end. Mu Hongling's side won the top 10, which was an honor for Mu Hongling and Huaxia. In any case, there were more than 200 level 5 evolvers competing, and those 200 people were all top talents from all over the world. Being able to get the top 10 among so many top talents is a symbol of strength. Although Mu Hongling was lucky to get the top 10, luck is also a manifestation of strength. People with bad luck can't go too far on the road of evolution. Including those big guys who made a fortune before the outbreak of the doomsday. Which one is not a lucky person? People with bad luck are destined to have no great future. After the battle at the level of the 5th evolver, everyone knew that the highlight was about to begin. Next, it was the battle at the level of the 6th evolver, which was also the battle to determine the real top 5 in the global genius competition. The top 5 will have the opportunity to explore the ruins. This is a very important level, and you must get the top 5. The host took a deep breath and said loudly, there are 8 level 6 evolvers in total. The opponents will still be decided by drawing lots. However, the competition will be more detailed and will not end in one game. Now you come up to draw lots. After the drawing, I will tell you the specific rules of the competition. I'll go up to draw lots, Lin Fan said, and walked towards the host. The other 7 people, including Jack from the United States, also walked towards the host. Lin Fan had already paid attention to Jack and the other 7 people. He was 100% sure that in this written test for level 6 evolvers, except for Jack, the other 6 people were not that good. At least, compared to him, they were not good enough. In other words, in this global genius competition, if he wanted to get the first place, he only needed to defeat Jack. Lin Fan had already noticed that it was because he had a ring to read the data, but others did not have a ring to read the data. So, at this time, the others were looking at each other. The onlookers also made a discussion. Are these the 8 level 6 evolvers? They look really young. Yes, their talents and growth potential are really terrifying. They have the strength of level 6 evolvers at such a young age. I wonder how far they will reach when they grow up. I don't know how far they will reach, but what is certain is that it is a sure thing for these 8 people to become level 7 evolvers, provided that there are no accidents. Level 7 evolvers, this is something I dare not even think about. That person is Jack from the United States, right? I heard that he is the number 1 genius in the United States. Yes, he is Jack, the number 1 genius in the United States, and his strength is very strong. Isn't there another person named John in the United States? Why isn't he here? Yes, I also remember that there is another genius named John in the United States who is very powerful. Maybe something delayed him. What else could be more important than the global genius competition? Everyone looked at Lin Fan and others and kept discussing. Lin Fan and others didn't care about these voices. What they had to do now was to draw lots and wait for the old man to announce the rules of the competition. Soon, Lin Fan and the others finished drawing lots and returned to their original places. Lin Fan opened his lot and saw that his number was 6. After the old man saw that Lin Fan and the others had opened their lot and looked at the numbers, he said in a loud voice, Number 1 and number 2, enter the venue and prepare for the competition. As the old man finished speaking, the people who drew numbers 1 and 2 stepped onto the field. These were 2 young men who seemed to be of similar height. They were both at the early stage of the 6th level of evolution. Moreover, from the data point of view, the data of the 2 people was exactly the same, with no other difference. It can be imagined that the battle between these 2 people must be a hard battle and a war of attrition, and it is difficult to judge who will win. The old man glanced at the 2 of them and asked, Are you all ready? The 2 nodded. Seeing this, the old man waved his hand and said, The competition begins. The 2 did not delay any longer, and rushed towards each other, launching a fierce battle. This battle was indeed very exciting to watch, especially for those who have not yet reached the level of the 6th level of evolution. Seeing such a battle, they all felt a sense of blood boiling in their hearts. The battle lasted for half an hour before it was over. After announcing the victory, the old man said, Number 3 and number 4 go on stage. Number 3 was Jack. Jack's appearance undoubtedly attracted everyone's attention. Everyone knew that Jack was the number 1 genius in the United States and that Jack's strength was extraordinary. They wanted to see how outstanding Jack was. This was undoubtedly an invisible pressure for number 4. Facing an opponent like Jack, number 4's face had become extremely solemn. The competition begins. Seeing that Jack and number 4 were ready, The old man also announced the start without hesitation. Jack's eyes focused and he took the lead in attacking. Facing Jack's attack, number 4 frowned. He didn't expect Jack's speed to be so fast. At this speed, if he wanted to dodge, it would be too late. He could only bite the bullet and fight Jack. After all, the more he dodged, the more likely he would be attacked by Jack. It would be better to fight Jack with all his strength, so that there might be a chance of winning. Bang! Jack rushed forward, clenched his fists, and without any fancy moves, he just punched hard. Number 4 looked solemn, and he also clenched his fists and punched Jack, and suddenly there was an extremely dull sound. After the collision of the fists, number 4's face became extremely ugly, and his whole body quickly retreated backwards. He retreated more than 10 meters before he stabilized his body in a somewhat embarrassing way. The most important thing is that his body has reached the edge of the field, and his feet are just in front of the edge. In other words, he has already left the field. One punch. Just one punch. Everyone stared at this scene in amazement. No one thought that Jack's strength was so strong that he could knock number 4 back outside the field with one punch. The old host was very surprised. It took him 3 seconds to react and announced, "Number 3 wins, he won with one punch. Jack is too strong, yes, he is worthy of being the number 1 genius in the United States. He defeated a person with the strength of a level 6 evolver with one punch. Why is there such a big difference in strength between the two of them? Jack should not be at the early stage of the level 6 evolver, but should be at the middle stage of the level 6 evolver, right, it should be, otherwise, he would not have defeated the opponent with one punch. If nothing unexpected happens, Jack should be the first place in this global genius competition. What other surprises can there be? Jack will definitely get the first place in the global genius competition. Yes, this is a question without suspense, and there is no need to consider it at all. After everyone reacted, they started a heated discussion. They didn't expect Jack's strength to be so strong. The opponent was at the early stage of the level 6 evolver. He was defeated with one punch. If they didn't see this scene with their own eyes, but someone else told them, they would never believe it. A helpless and bitter look appeared on the face of number 4. Although he did not think that his strength was better than Jack, before the competition began, he thought that if he faced Jack, he could at least hold on for a while. But he did not expect that he could not even hold on for a minute and was defeated by Jack with one punch. Such a result was not only beyond the expectations of others, but also beyond his own expectations. The defeat was too fast and too sad. However, the result has already appeared. No matter how much he regrets, it is useless. Failure is failure. This is an unchangeable fact. For Jack, defeating number 4 with one punch does not seem to be something to be proud of. In other words, in Jack's view, this is a routine operation, as if it is surprising that he cannot defeat the opponent with one punch. After hearing the old man announce the result of the victory, Jack did not delay for even a second, turned around and walked back, without even looking at number 4. Under the gaze of everyone, number 4 walked off the field with a dusty face. Number 5 and number 6 enter the venue for the competition. The old man continued. Number 6, it's your turn. Murenzu looked at Lin Fan and said with a smile. Yes, Lin Fan nodded and said, I'll go to the competition first. After that, Lin Fan didn't delay and walked towards the venue. After entering the venue, his opponent, number 5, also appeared. Number 5 was a foreigner with a height of 1.7 meters. He didn't look very strong, but rather a little thin. Number 5's eyes fell on Lin Fan. In his opinion, Lin Fan didn't seem to pose any threat to him. He felt that he had basically won this competition. Dong Xianzhuo glanced at number 5. From number 5's eyes, he could already see that number 5 was a little disdainful of Lin Fan. Dong Xianzhuo smiled faintly. Number 5 would soon pay the corresponding price. The old man's eyes swept over Lin Fan and number 5. Seeing that they were ready, he said directly, the competition begins. As soon as the old man finished speaking, number 5 couldn't wait to attack Lin Fan. Number 5 stamped his feet on the ground and rushed towards Lin Fan. He wanted to attack first and take the initiative. Facing number 5's attack, Lin Fan's expression did not change at all. He knew very well that number 5 was not his opponent. He was just considering whether to end the battle slowly or quickly. If number 5 knew that Lin Fan was thinking about this, he would probably spit out blood in anger. After all, at this time, Lin Fan was still considering whether to defeat him quickly or slowly. Who could accept this? Chapter 647 Final. Lin Fan's thoughts, naturally, would not be known to number 5. Number 5 rushed towards Lin Fan with a heroic and high-spirited momentum, wanting to first give Lin Fan a head start, and then slowly deal with Lin Fan. He knew very well that Lin Fan also had the strength of an early 6th level evolver. He could not defeat his opponent with one punch like Jack did, so he could only defeat him by slowing down. At the same time, Lin Fan also made a decision in his heart. This decision was to defeat number 5 quickly. The purpose of coming here to participate in the global genius competition is to have a reputation. In this way, you can get the attention of the whole world and make China more famous. That Jack just defeated his opponent with one punch, which maximized the attention. This is when everyone already knows that Jack is the number 1 genius in the United States. Now he himself has no fame, of course. This means that he has no fame abroad. In China, his fame is very big. Especially among the younger generation, he has become the recognized number 1 genius. But what he needs now is to be famous all over the world. Therefore, in the global talent competition in front of him, he should perform as well as he can, so that everyone can remember him and pay attention to him. Only in this way can his fame spread the fastest and let people all over the world know his name in the shortest time. When number 5 appeared in front of him, Lin Fan clenched his fist and punched out with all his strength, colliding with number 5's fist. Bang! This punch immediately made a dull sound, and number 5's face became very ugly at this moment, even super ugly. In this ugly look, there was also a pain that penetrated deep into the bone marrow. Then, a painful scream came out of number 5's mouth, and his whole body retreated backwards. Deng deng. Number 5's footsteps kept stepping on the ground, making a deng deng sound. Everyone clearly saw that number 5's body quickly retreated outside the venue. Moreover, his body staggered and fell to the ground without standing firmly. Wow! At this point, many people were shocked. They had never expected that number 5 would lose more miserably than number 4. Number 4 had just left the field, but number 5 not only left the field, but also fell to the ground. Doesn't this mean that Lin Fan's strength is stronger than Jack's? Am I seeing things? Just one more punch solved it. The key is that this defeat was more miserable, and you see, there is obvious redness and swelling on the fist of number 5. Maybe the bones in his fingers are shattered. I didn't notice this problem until you mentioned it, and now it's true. The fist is so red and swollen, the bones inside must be shattered. Why is this Chinese number 6 so powerful? I haven't heard any news about him before, yet. When did this guy show up? He's too powerful, but from the momentum he just displayed, he is clearly only at the early stage of the 6th level of evolution. Why could he beat someone at the early stage of the 6th level of evolution like this with just one punch? Did number 5 lose to him on purpose? Are you stupid? This is a global genius competition. Everyone wants to show their talents in the global genius competition. And you lose on purpose? You're basically crazy. That's true. I was too one-sided just now. Everyone was discussing fiercely. They had even begun to compare the strength of Lin Fan and Jack. But some people keenly felt that Lin Fan's strength was at the early stage of the 6th level evolver, while Jack's strength was at the middle stage of the 6th level evolver. They did not think that Lin Fan's strength was stronger than Jack's. However, number 5 was defeated by Lin Fan with one punch, and the bones of his fingers were shattered and swollen. They felt that this was not in line with common sense. What they did not know was that Lin Fan's current defense attribute was very high. It was impossible for number 5 not to be injured if he used all his strength to fight with number 5. Of course, Lin Fan's strength itself could not be judged by conventional levels. Even if he and number 5 were both at the early stage of the 6th level evolver, he was still at the level of crushing number 5. Jack's eyes would not have been particularly focused on anyone, but at this time he was also particularly focused on Lin Fan. He could feel that Lin Fan was only at the early stage of the 6th level evolver, but the strength displayed by Lin Fan did not seem to be something that a 6th level evolver could do. Next to Jack, a man about the same age as Dong Xianzhuo said, "That Chinese kid is not simple. If you face him, you can't be careless." The person who spoke was the big boss of the United States. Hearing this, Jack's eyes flashed with surprise. He knew very well that being able to make this big man say such words was enough to show that Lin Fan was really not simple. "Okay, I'll be careful." Jack nodded seriously. It's true that he is the first genius, and it's also true that he is very strong, but he is not a careless person. Even the big man around him has warned him like this. If he still treats it carelessly, it can only mean that he is a fool. The big men behind the other level 6 evolvers also began to pay close attention to Lin Fan. They were all secretly guessing who Lin Fan was from China. Lin Fan was very satisfied with the voices of these discussions, which showed that his performance just now had achieved the result he wanted. Number 6 wins, the old man presiding over the meeting quickly announced. Lin Fan nodded to the old man presiding over the meeting, and then turned around and walked back. Number 5 stood up from the ground and walked back to where he was. "How are you?" the people around number 5 asked. Number 5's fingers trembled violently, and said, "My finger bones have been shattered." When the people around heard this, their faces changed drastically. One of them said, "Is he really that strong? Can he shatter your finger bones in one blow? He is indeed very strong. Anyway, I am no match for him. This is the first time I have met such a strong person," number 5 replied. At this moment, he still felt a lingering fear. He even felt that it was easy for Lin Fan to kill him just now. However, the global genius competition does not allow life and death battles, otherwise he will definitely die in Lin Fan's hands. It was a feeling of being completely shrouded in death. This Chinese guy is probably comparable to Jack. Let's wait and see whether he is stronger or Jack is stronger. Yes, the champion of this global genius competition will definitely be born between the two of them. Well, if evil doesn't say so, the champion should be born between the two of them. Lin Fan and Jack did not hear these conversations, and they didn't care about hearing others discuss them. Everyone knew that after they showed their strength, the first place in the global genius competition would definitely be born between them. Number 7, number 8, go on stage to compete, the old host continued. Number 7 and number 8 didn't waste any time, they walked into the venue and started to compete. These two people were also at the initial stage of the 6th level of evolution, and their battle was also quite exciting. However, with the example of Jack and Lin Fan, no matter how exciting they performed, they could not be compared with Jack and Lin Fan. After a while, the competition ended and the winner was number 8. The top 4 have been born, namely number 1, number 3, number 6 and number 8. You just lost number 2, number 4, number 5 and number 7 in the first round. Take a break now, and we will rearrange the battle for you 4 later, and let you 4 decide who will be the 5th place. As for number 1, number 3, number 6 and number 8, you will have another battle, and you must accurately determine the 1st, 2nd, 3rd and 4th place. Of course, you also consumed energy in the battle just now. I will give you 20 minutes to rest and adjust. After 20 minutes, the competition will be held again. The old host glanced at Lin Fan and said loudly, "The 4 contestants eliminated in the first round can only compete for the 5th place, which is very important to them. Because only the top 5 can go to explore the ruins. The 4 of them have to compete for 1 place, and the intensity of the competition can be imagined. Number 5 is too miserable. His finger bones are all shattered. He won't be able to compete with the other 3 people later, right? Yes, the shattered finger bones will definitely affect his strength greatly. There is nothing we can do about it. Who made him meet number 6? I am now looking forward to the battle between number 3 and number 6. Yes, number 3 and number 6 must be the candidates for the 1st and 2nd place." After the old man finished speaking, everyone fell into discussion again. What they said was not wrong. The physical and mental consumption can be recovered by resting and adjusting, but the injury of number 5's finger bones being shattered cannot be recovered in a short time. It takes a certain amount of time. Of course, the focus of more people's discussion is still on Lin Fan and Jack. They really want to see who is better, Lin Fan or Jack. 20 minutes passed quickly. The old host glanced at Lin Fan and others again and said, "After our discussion just now and hearing your discussion, we have made a temporary decision, that is, the top 4 do not need to compete with each other. Let number 1 and number 8 compete for the 3rd and 4th place, and let number 3 and number 6 compete for the 1st and 2nd place." While speaking, the old host's eyes fell on number 1 and number 8, and asked, "Number 1, number 8, do you two have any different opinions on this decision? If you have different opinions, you can put them forward now, otherwise they will be invalid after the expiration date." "I don't have a different opinion," number 1 gave an answer without thinking. "I don't have a different opinion either." Then, number 8 also gave a quick answer. From the performance of Jack and Lin Fan just now, the two of them could already judge that they were no match for Jack and Lin Fan at all, and there was no need to waste time competing with Jack and Lin Fan for the first and second place. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 648 The Right Choice. No one would think that number 1 and number 8 were cowards because of their behavior. Instead, they thought that they were people who knew the current situation and knew that their strength was not as good as Lin Fan and Jack. Instead of wasting time competing, they might as well admit defeat and save their energy to compete for the third and fourth places. This was the right choice they should have made. Fortunately, they did make the right choice and only competed for the third and fourth places, leaving the first and second places to Lin Fan and Jack. Okay, since you all agree with our decision, you will compete for the third and fourth places. The old host was not surprised by the answer of number 1 and number 8. After nodding, he said, "You two come on stage now, and you will fight first." Yes, number 1 and number 8 answered in unison, and then without wasting any time, they walked into the venue. The old man glanced at the two of them again, and after confirming that they were both ready for the battle, he waved his hand and said, "The competition begins." As the old man's voice fell, the two of them locked their eyes on each other. Immediately, the two rushed towards each other and launched their attacks, both wanting to defeat the other as quickly as possible. The idea was good, but it was still very difficult to implement. After all, the competition had reached this point, and the strength of number 1 and number 8 was not much different. If they were to decide the winner, it would be a tug of war over time. Everyone's eyes were fixed on them, and they kept discussing. Who do you think is stronger, number 1 or number 8? It's not clear now, but if I really have to choose one, then I think number 1 should win and take the third place. Who said that? I think number 8 is stronger, and number 8 will definitely beat number 1. Yes, I also think number 8 is stronger, especially number 8's previous performance, which is enough to show that he is not simple at all. You are all too one-sided. Believe in my judgment, number 1 will win. The voices of the crowd's discussion naturally revolved around who would get the third place between number 1 and number 8. Although the top 5 are eligible to enter the ruins to explore, the honor of the top 3 is always higher than that of the top 5. Lin Fan, who do you think will win, number 1 or number 8? Dong Xianzhuo looked around the scene and asked Lin Fan curiously. He wanted to see if Lin Fan could tell who was stronger between number 1 and number 8 at this time. Hearing this, Lin Fan was a little surprised that Dong Xianzhuo would ask him such a question. After all, in so many previous battles, Dong Xianzhuo had never asked him about his opinion on the battle situation. But since Dong Xianzhuo asked this, he naturally had to answer it. "Commander, I think number may first win," Lin Fan said. "Oh? Tell me more about it." A hint of curiosity flashed across Dong Xianzhuo's eyes. Although it seems that number 8's attack is a little more fierce than number 1's at this time, number 1 has better endurance, Lin Fan analyzed. The two of them are not much different in strength. In this case, it is not the one who attacks more fiercely that will gain the upper hand. Of course, it is good to attack fiercely. If the opponent cannot defend, then victory will be won quickly, but, from the current point of view, number 1 can obviously defend against number 8's attack. If this continues, number 8's mentality will be affected, and it will be easy to reveal flaws. What no one needs to do is to find the right opportunity to launch a counterattack when number 8 reveals a flaw, and then it will be easy to defeat number 8. Hearing Lin Fan's analysis, Dong Xianzhuo's face showed a wonderful expression. There was no way, mainly because Lin Fan's analysis sounded really wonderful. Not bad, very thorough, Dong Xianzhuo praised. In this battle between number 1 and number 8, his view was the same as Lin Fan, and he also believed that number 1 would win. The battle continued. After about 40 minutes, the battle was really as Lin Fan analyzed. Number 8's continuous attack did not gain the upper hand, and soon number 8's mentality was greatly affected, and the whole person began to become irritable. This irritable state undoubtedly caused number 8 to have some flaws in his attack. Number 1 was a smart man. When he saw that number 8 had a flaw, he immediately seized the opportunity and successfully knocked number 8 out of the range of the venue. Number 8 stood up, his face full of regret and remorse. Because this meant that he could only get the 4th place and could not get the honor of the top 3. Number 1 wins. The old host glanced at number 1 and number 8, and announced loudly, "Let us congratulate number 1 for winning the 3rd place in this global talent competition." As the old man's voice fell, there was a burst of cheers and fierce applause in the field. Although everyone was a competitor before, at this moment, everyone congratulated from the bottom of their hearts. Number 1 and number 8 stepped down from the field. The old man did not immediately let Lin Fan and Jack fight, but said, "Next, please invite number 2, number 4, number 5, and number 7 to compete for the 5th place." Originally, everyone thought that after number 1 and number 8 competed, Lin Fan and Jack would also compete. Unexpectedly, this was not the case. The old man obviously intended to let Lin Fan and Jack compete last. Before that, the 5th place must be selected first. Number 5, who had just competed with Lin Fan, heard the old man's words and a trace of regret appeared on his face. His finger bones were shattered by Lin Fan just now. Although he is not completely powerless now, if he wants to compete with the other 3 for the 5th place, he will definitely not have any advantage, and may even suffer more serious injuries. "I want to withdraw and not participate in the final competition," number 5 said to the people around him. "It's okay, just quit if you want to. We all know that you are injured, and there will be no good results if you continue to compete. Yeah, forget it this time. There will be opportunities in the future anyway. Yes, let them compete this time." After hearing this, the people around number 5 comforted him and expressed their support for number 5's decision. They all knew that number 5 was in such a state that he was no longer suitable to compete with the other 3. With the support of the people around him, number 5 did not have such a big psychological burden. He looked at the old man who supported him and said loudly, "I quit." As soon as this word spread, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. At this time, everyone's eyes turned to number 5. Quit? He just said he quit. Yeah, I heard him quit, too. At this point, he actually wants to quit. It's such a waste of opportunity. That's not the case. After all, he was already injured during the battle with number 6. Maybe he knew that he was not competitive enough when he was injured, so he decided to quit. Yes, that should be the case. He knew this, so he chose to quit. If number 5 chooses to quit, then only number 2, number 4 and number 7 will compete. That means the 5th place will be born among the 3 of them. This battle between the 3 will probably be quite exciting. Everyone started to discuss. Some people understood number 5's decision to quit, while others did not. Those who understood knew that number 5 was injured and not suitable to compete. Those who did not understand thought that with such a good opportunity, he should give it a try even if he was injured. In short, everyone has their own reasons for these theories. The old man in charge looked at number 5. Although number 5 had already said that he would quit, he still asked again, "Are you sure you want to quit?" "Sure." Number 5 nodded seriously. "Okay, since you have decided to quit, we respect your decision." The old man in charge also nodded, and then looked at number 2, number 4 and number 7, and said, "Number 5 has quit, so the next battle will be between the 3 of you. I won't let you fight separately, but 3 of you will fight together. Whoever stays in the venue will be the 5th place. Did you understand the rules?" Hearing this, number 2, number 4 and number 7 answered in unison, "I understand." Such a simple rule, with their IQ, is not difficult to understand at all. "Okay, if you understand, then you 3 can enter the venue now," the old man said. Number 2, number 4 and number 7 did not waste time and walked into the venue. The 3 of them stood in 3 directions of the venue, forming a triangle. The old man glanced at them and said, "The competition begins." As the old man finished speaking, the 3 did not take action immediately, but it was obvious that the atmosphere between the 3 of them had become much more solemn. In any case, this was a crucial battle to determine who would get the 5th place, and they had to remain vigilant. However, this situation obviously could not be maintained forever, otherwise, it would be unknown when this battle would end. Therefore, after about 10 seconds, the 3 of them still fought together. Bang! 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 The fierce collision sound continued to spread from the field, and everyone's eyes swept back and forth over the 3 of them. "Lin Fan, this time, who do you think will win the 5th place among the 3 of them?" Dong Xianzhuo looked at Lin Fan again and asked after a while. He suddenly found that he began to like listening to Lin Fan's analysis, as if it was a kind of enjoyment. Chapter 649 Wait and See. Hearing this, Lin Fan smiled faintly and said, "Commander, In this battle, I think number 2 has a greater chance of winning. Number 2, Dong Xianzhou asked with a smile. Why? Number 2 may not be the strongest among the three of them, but he is the smartest among the three of them, Lin Fan replied. Dong Xianzhou's eyes flashed, with doubts, and he did not speak. He knew that Lin Fan had not finished speaking, and he was waiting for Lin Fan to finish speaking before making comments. Murongzhu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishu beside him also became very curious when they heard Lin Fan say this. In this kind of competition, isn't it the one who has the higher strength who will win? How come Lin Fan said that number 2 is not the strongest, but has the possibility of winning the final victory? At this moment, they even doubted whether Lin Fan had said the wrong number. With such curiosity, their eyes also looked towards Lin Fan. Facing their puzzled looks, Lin Fan was not surprised at all, and explained calmly, under normal circumstances, whoever is stronger will definitely win in the end, but this is a competition between three people. Number 4 and number 7 are stronger than number 2, there is no doubt about that, but these two strong people are equivalent to being led by number 2. Every time number 2 attacks them, he will guide them to become the main combat targets. In other words, number 4 and number 7 will have more time to attack each other. This will cause number 4 and number 7 to consume more and faster. When they are almost consumed, their strength will naturally weaken. At that time, how can they be the opponent of number 2? So, in this competition between the three of them, in my opinion, the final winner will be number 2. This is Lin Fan's analysis. In other words, in Lin Fan's opinion, number 2's victory is not a victory in strength, but a victory in wisdom. But wisdom itself is also an important part. People without wisdom are brave but not wise, and they can easily be used by others. Such things often happened in ancient times. If we really look at it comprehensively, Lin Fan actually appreciates people like number 2 who know how to turn their disadvantages into advantages on the battlefield. After listening to Lin Fan's analysis, Dong Xianzhou and others also understood why Lin Fan thought that number 2 would win the battle. Dong Xianzhou looked at Lin Fan with appreciation and said, Lin Fan, I have to say that after listening to your analysis, I also think that number 2 will win. At the beginning, Dong Xianzhou actually didn't think that number 2 would win. After all, number 2's strength was indeed the weakest among the three. However, after hearing what Lin Fan said, especially during Lin Fan's analysis, he carefully watched the battle between the three people and found that it was really as Lin Fan said. Number 2's strength was the weakest, but number 2 was indeed the most rounded one. He was always able to provoke the battle between number 4 and number 7, but he didn't directly participate in it. In this way, number 2's physical strength and energy were not consumed as fast as number 4 and number 7. By then, the physical strength and energy of number 4 and number 7 will not be so good. Even if number 2 is not as strong as them, he can make up for the gap. Therefore, according to this inference, number 2 has the greatest chance of winning. The fact once again did not surprise Lin Fan. Just as he guessed, number 4 and no. 7 consumed a lot of physical strength and energy during the battle, and in the end they were not the opponents of number 2. Number 4 and number 7 were eliminated from the venue one after another by number 2. This result was beyond the expectations of many people, and they discussed it in surprise. I didn't expect that number 2 would win in the end. Yeah, at the beginning, I thought number 7 would win. Even if number 7 didn't win, I still thought number 4 would win. It seems that number 4 and number 7 were both careless. Otherwise, number 2 wouldn't have had such good luck to turn defeat into victory. This incident really reminds us that when we fight with others in the future, no matter how strong or weak others are, we can't be careless, otherwise it's easy to capsize in the ditch. Not bad, not bad. Number 2's victory is the best example. We must be cautious in every battle in the future. Everyone talked about it. They were all surprised and incredible about number 2's victory. As losers, number 4 and number 7 had a deep regret on their faces. At this time, they both understood that they had been fooled by number 2 before, which led to the two of them constantly consuming each other, but number 2 didn't consume much. This was the fundamental reason for their failure. In the final analysis, they were careless and thought that number 2 was not strong enough to compete with him. They neglected that this was a battle between three people. Even if number 2 was not as strong as them, if they wanted to compete for the 5th place, they should have eliminated number 2 first and then fought with all their strength, instead of letting number 2 reap the benefits. Unfortunately, the result of the matter has already appeared. No matter how much they regretted, it was useless. The old host took a look at the situation in the field and slowly announced, "Number 2 won. Congratulations to number 2 for winning the 5th place. Winning the 5th place will qualify you to explore the ruins. For number 2, this is a very rare opportunity. He also has to thank number 4 and number 7 for their carelessness. Otherwise, this quota would never fall on him anyway." Thinking of this, number 2 couldn't help but cast a thankful look at number 4 and number 7. Lin Fan didn't care about these. He now looked at Jack. Jack's eyes were also looking at Lin Fan. The two of them looked at each other in the air. They all knew that from now on, the entire battlefield belonged to the two of them. Everyone's eyes would be focused on them, watching every second of their battle, and not missing any critical moment. After number 2 walked off the field, the old host spoke again. "Everyone, next is the last stage of this global talent competition, that is, the championship battle. The contestants participating in this competition are number 3 and number 6. Their competition will determine the first and second place of the global talent competition. I know you are all looking forward to this competition. I am also looking forward to it like you. Now, let us witness the birth of the champion of the global talent competition. Number 3, number 6, please enter the venue and get ready." The moment the old man's voice fell, the atmosphere of the entire venue became extremely lively. Although they have no chance of winning the championship, this does not affect their excitement in watching the last competition. They really want to see who is better, Lin Fan or Jack. Lin Fan, just do your best. Don't have any psychological pressure. Keep your mind stable. Dong Xianzhuo reached out and patted Lin Fan on the shoulder and said. Although he was full of confidence in Lin Fan, he still had some worries at this time. He just hoped that Lin Fan could keep his mind stable and not be affected by the outside voices. He just wanted to play well in the competition. "Lin Fan, come on," Murengzhu said. "Come on," Li Zihan said. "Come on," Mu Honglin said. "Come on," Li Keishu said. The four of them all hoped that Lin Fan could win from the bottom of their hearts. Hearing the words of Dong Xianzhuo, Murengzhu and the other four, Lin Fan smiled slightly, nodded, and said, "I will take back this honor. This honor belongs to our Huaxia country." "Okay, we all believe in you," Dong Xianzhuo nodded. Lin Fan did not delay any longer and walked into the venue. His appearance naturally attracted everyone's attention. Some foreign girls found that looking at Lin Fan from this angle, they felt that he was very handsome. On the other side, next to Jack, the American boss also warned, "Jack, remember, this Chinese kid is not simple. When you fight, you must always be vigilant and not be careless, otherwise you will easily suffer a loss." "Okay, I remember," Jack nodded seriously. He was very confident in his own strength, but he also knew that Lin Fan's strength was not simple. During the battle, no matter what situation he encountered, he would not underestimate Lin Fan. After all, being able to get to this point definitely shows that Lin Fan is not a good person. This kind of opponent deserves his most serious attitude. "Okay, go ahead, I believe you can win," the American boss said. Yet, Jack nodded again, and without wasting any time, he quickly walked to the venue and stood opposite Lin Fan. The two of them just stood there quietly, and before they spoke, the surrounding discussions had already swept across the sky. "Who do you think will win the final victory? Need I say that? I still support Jack. Jack is the world's #1 genius. Jack's strength is beyond doubt. If you don't believe me, you will see it soon. Haha, I don't doubt Jack's strength, but the strength of this Chinese Lin Fan is also not simple at all. To be honest, if I were to judge, I would not be able to judge who is stronger. I don't know. Anyway, for me, watching this battle carefully is the most important thing. Yes, for us, if we watch this battle carefully, we will definitely learn a lot of experience. I just hope that they can fight for a longer time so that we can watch for a longer time. Let us enjoy this visual feast with our eyes. The performance of the two of them will definitely not disappoint us. Haha, wait and see, wait and see." The voices of the crowd were very noisy, but no one stopped their discussion. The louder the discussion, the more attention this battle will receive. Only in this way can the value of the global genius competition be demonstrated. Chapter 650 Using Weapons. At this time, everyone's eyes were focused on Lin Fan and Jack. Under everyone's gaze, Lin Fan and Jack began a conversation. Jack stared at Lin Fan and said, "You are very strong and qualified to be my opponent." "You are also strong and qualified to be my opponent," Lin Fan responded calmly. Lin Fan has never been worse than others in speaking. Hearing Lin Fan say this, Jack's eyes condensed slightly. He didn't expect Lin Fan to be able to remain so calm and say such words when facing him. This aroused his interest and he wanted to talk to Lin Fan more. "Why do you think you can beat me?" Jack kept smiling and said, "If I'm not mistaken, you only have the strength of an early 6th level evolver, while I have the strength of a mid-level 6th level evolver. In the previous battle, I didn't use my full strength to hurt number 4. If I used my full strength, number 4's injury would definitely be more serious than the injury of number 5 you dealt with." Jack knew very well that in their battle just now, the opponents that people compared the most were the opponents he and Lin Fan dealt with respectively. The opponents were all defeated with one punch. But Jack's opponent was not injured after leaving the venue. And Lin Fan's opponent's finger bones were shattered after leaving the venue. From here, they compared the strength of Jack and Lin Fan, and a few people guessed that Lin Fan's strength was stronger than Jack's. However, they overlooked another problem, that is, Jack himself has the strength of a middle-level 6th level evolver, while Lin Fan only has the strength of an early-level 6th level evolver. There is a gap in strength between the two sides. Therefore, Jack was very curious about where Lin Fan got such great confidence when facing him. You know, he has the strength of a middle-level 6th level evolver, but when he really breaks out, he will definitely surpass the middle-level 6th level evolver, and can almost be comparable to those in the late-level 6th level evolver. Everyone was very curious about Jack's question, and they also wanted to know where Lin Fan got his confidence from. Lin Fan shook his head and smiled, saying, "Confidence is something that no one can explain clearly. Just like many people are blindly confident, I don't know if my confidence is blind or not, but I am confident that I can beat you. Yeah, it's that simple." Lin Fan's answer made everyone dumbfounded, and they opened their mouths, not knowing what to say. Jack also didn't know what to say to Lin Fan. After a long while, he nodded and said, "Okay, very good. In that case, let's start this competition. Let me really see how strong you are." "No problem," Lin Fan smiled. The old host heard that Lin Fan and Jack had already talked to this point, so he naturally didn't waste any more time. He stretched out his hand and waved, saying, "The competition begins." After the old man finished speaking, Lin Fan no longer hesitated, moved his body, and rushed towards Jack. In this kind of battle, there is no need to be polite, just take action when you should. Seeing Lin Fan rushing over, Jack's eyes flashed with a hint of solemnity. From Lin Fan's speed and eyes, he could feel that Lin Fan's aura is very strong. This aura is not only emitted from his strength, but also from his own aura. Such an aura is not something that everyone can possess. Bang! The fists of the two men collided with each other. An extremely dull sound suddenly spread at this time. Lin Fan and Jack's bodies both retreated 2 steps backwards. Jack's face condensed slightly, and he thought to himself, how can this kid's body be so strong? That's right. This collision, Jack felt that Lin Fan's body was very strong, causing his fist to produce a sharp pain. But from Lin Fan's expression, there was no sign of pain. Logically speaking, he was at the middle stage of the 6th level evolver, and Lin Fan was at the early stage of the 6th level evolver. Their collision would inevitably cause Lin Fan to feel pain. Why is it that after the collision, only he felt pain, but Lin Fan did not feel pain? This seems to be a bit hard to explain. In fact, Lin Fan also felt pain, but this pain was very small, so small that it could be ignored. After all, Lin Fan's defense data is 20, and Jack's strength data is 21. Compared with the two, it is equivalent to Jack's attack on Lin Fan becoming 1. An attack with a strength of 1 naturally cannot cause any harm to Lin Fan. The distance they retreated is the same. Yes, is that Chinese kid really only at the early stage of the 6th level of evolution? He only has the strength of the early stage of the 6th level of evolution. Can't you feel it? He has released all his momentum now, and he is indeed only at the early stage of the 6th level of evolution. With such strength, he can still retreat the same distance as Jack. What is the reason? After seeing that Lin Fan and Jack retreated the same distance, everyone couldn't help but discuss it. A trace of doubt flashed through Dong Xianzhuo's mind. Lin Fan's ability to withstand blows seems to be very strong. Murongzu, Li Zihan, Mu Hongling and Li Keishu were happy for Lin Fan, which meant that Lin Fan's strength was indeed not worse than Jack's, so he had the real strength to compete with Jack for the first place. The American boss's eyes condensed, and he secretly thought, why is this kid's defense ability so strong? Is it because of some kind of supernatural power, The American boss was a person who was very good at observing details. He was able to capture the information he wanted from the changes in Lin Fan's expression. He did not see any painful expression on Lin Fan's face, which was enough for him to judge that Lin Fan's defense ability was very strong. Jack already had the strength of a mid-level 6th level evolver. After such a punch, Lin Fan did not have any obvious painful expression, which could only make him think that Lin Fan had a supernatural power that could enhance his body's defense ability, otherwise he could not explain this problem. In the field, after Jack's body stabilized, his eyes locked on Lin Fan. Without saying anything, he moved his body and rushed towards Lin Fan again. Bang! Bang! The two continued to fight, and dull sounds continued to be heard. As the battle continued, Jack became more and more certain that Lin Fan's defensive ability was really very strong. After the two bodies retreated a certain distance to the back again, Jack looked at his fist and could clearly see that his fist also had red marks. Although his finger bones were not shattered, it could already explain the problem to some extent. Do you have the ability to defend? Jack stared at Lin Fan and asked. Sorry, I don't really want to answer your question. Lin Fan smiled and shook his head. He deliberately gave such an ambiguous answer, just to let Jack keep guessing, and it is conceivable that Jack would definitely guess that he really has the ability to defend. After all, apart from having the ability to defend, Jack really couldn't figure out what other abilities Lin Fan had to increase his own defense. Jack would not be wrong about the feeling of fists colliding. He was now 100% sure that Lin Fan's defensive ability was stronger than his. If the two of them just stood there and bumped their fists, he would definitely be defeated first, not Lin Fan. He couldn't break Lin Fan's defense for a while. Of course, this was based on the premise of using fists. In such a competition, there was no restriction on the use of weapons. Lin Fan was not wrong. His ambiguous answer had made Jack certain that it was the defense improvement brought by the supernatural power. Therefore, Jack did not intend to continue to fight Lin Fan with his fists, as that would be disadvantageous to him. Thinking of this, Jack reached out to touch his body and took out a shiny dagger. As soon as the dagger appeared, an extremely sharp breath could be felt from it. There was no doubt that this was a dagger made of special materials. Such a dagger was very sharp and could easily break many hard objects. Lin Fan noticed that the dagger in Jack's hand seemed to be not much different from the dagger Dong Xianzhou gave him. Of course, what is meant here is that the material is not much different, not the size. In terms of size, the dagger in Lin Fan's hand is used as a hidden weapon for sneak attacks, while the dagger in Jack's hand is the size of a real dagger. Compared with the two, the dagger in Jack's hand is larger. Swish! Holding the dagger, Jack seemed to be more confident. He could hear the subtle sound of breaking through the air when he swung the dagger. I want to see how strong your defense is, Jack said lightly. Then I'll let you see it, Lin Fan replied lightly. Jack's eyes condensed, and he didn't delay any longer. He held the dagger and attacked Lin Fan again. Facing Jack's attack with the dagger this time, Lin Fan naturally couldn't be stupid enough to use his own body to test whether the dagger was sharp enough. Seeing Jack holding the dagger and stabbing at him, Lin Fan raised the corner of his mouth, took a deep breath, and decided not to delay any more time. Jack had already used his weapon, so there was no need for him not to use his supernatural power. So, Lin Fan's mind moved, and the three daggers on his body flew out. Whoosh! 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 When the three daggers flew out, they also brought three subtle sounds of breaking through the air. As for the three hidden weapons from before, Lin Fan did not intend to use them here. Because, the materials forging those three hidden weapons could not be compared with the daggers at all. Even if they were used to attack Jack, Jack could easily destroy the three hidden weapons with a dagger in his hand, which was equivalent to a meaningless sacrifice. Therefore, the three hidden weapons can be kept. Now to deal with Jack, it is enough to use the three daggers given to him by Dong Xianzhou. The appearance of the three daggers out of thin air undoubtedly set off a storm in the scene, and everyone looked at the three daggers in disbelief. Then, a series of harsh discussions immediately revolved around the three daggers. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone, see you in the next video.